Hello, wherever you are, it's time for some Christmas bollocks! Yeah! Welcome to this festive get it? Festival special, but it's festive as well. It's a festive special and it's a festival. Anyway, I do comedy, believe it or not. My name is Howard H. Smith. I am lead singer in UK thrash band Acid Rain. I'm also stand-up comedian performing as myself, but mainly Keith Platt, professional Yorkshireman. You can find me at keithplatt.co.uk. Anybody use websites anymore? And you can also find Acid Rain at .co.uk. Does anybody use websites anymore? But you can also find Acid Rain on all the relevant social medias, and do you know what? You can find Talking Bollocks on social media as well. Come and join the party. Oh, for fuck's sake. Honestly, people trying to contact me. It ain't happening. Oh, right, hang on a sec, I might have to take this. So would you believe it? That was a fucking one of those, I'm just a recorded voice. I'm calling about the accident you just had. And I actually started trying to record so you guys could hear it. But unfortunately, it didn't work out like that. So anyway, here we are. It is the festive special, two-part festive special on festive. I nearly said festivals. On what? It is on festivals, music festivals, not festival periods, like the one you're in now. Happy Christmas, by the way, or Happy Hanukkah, or just Happy December, Happy Winter Festival, happy giving people presents, happy receiving presents, happy overeating, happy overdrinking, happy rowing with your family, happy hangover, happy shit television the world over, happy James Bond movie yet again, happy everything that goes on, and most importantly, happy hundreds and hundreds of adverts for toys, holidays, and charities. So I think that covers most of the things that are going on at this time of year. Maybe not all, but most. So what have I got coming up for you? Yep, this is a two-part Christmas festival special. So what we're going to be covering is I'm going to be talking to people who are involved in festivals, as you know. But before I do, let's just have a look at what's happened in the world of metal since last we spoke. Corey Taylor was in the news a little bit after a fan tagged Taylor on Twitter saying that it was some bloke from... that Levine, I can't remember which band he's from, comments angered him because he said basically like rock is dead. So much that he needed Slipknot and Stone Sour singer to rip him a new one or something. Corey happily obliged, writing on Twitter, just because you claim to have moves like Jagger doesn't mean you come anywhere close to rocking like Jagger. Tell that schmuck to go back to the fucking voice. And then Stone Sour producer and Anthrax producer Jay Rushton chipped him with, when Adam Levine or anyone else in that genre can consistently set out stadiums around the world like Metallica, Muse, Slipknot, Iron Maiden, Rammstein, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses and the Rolling Stones, then I'll care what he has to say about the death of rock. So, I just thought that was pretty cool. I do like the way Corey Taylor is always prepared to just get involved in an argument. And just weigh in wherever. Not as much as he might have previously done, but still, I just think it's cool, you know? We need people with opinions. And, I would say that, wouldn't I? Fucking Rentamouth here. Now, I've got to tell you about... Jamie Jaster did an interview with the bass player from the Deftones. And it was... I'm trying to remember what his name is now. Is it Jay something or something like that? I'm honestly not sure. But anyway, he did an interview with him, and it was it was fine. They were chatting away, and then he just mentioned, he said that his girlfriend was into the world of cosplay. And Jamie was like, oh wow, can we just carry on for a few more minutes? I'm really interested in this. And he was like, yeah, dude, cool. Jamie's first question: so cosplay, I'm interested. How do you monetize it? Just straight in with, where's the fucking money? It was just absolute. It was just an absolute classic. It really was. I laughed out loud. I laughed for hours. I mean, oh bless him. I mean, look, I'm not criticising him. It's just the way it is. Okay. So, what else has been happening? Phil Anselmo and the Illegals have been covering Walk recently, and I have to say, the version I saw, I'm not sure where it was from, was excellent. Most importantly, Anselmo's vocals are spot on. He is looking after his voice, and he was really doing the job. And I just thought it was really cool. It was respectful, and it was really good. Search out some video footage if you can find it, because it is worth watching. And maybe not so much worth watching. Dave Alefson and Frank Bello have a band called Altitudes and Attitude, and I was sent a link to the album, and as I did ask the person who sent it to me, what do you think? What do you think? And he said, well, do you like Foo Fighters? And straight away I was like, say what? And yeah, I mean, it's as middle of the road as the Painted White Lines. Yeah, I mean, if that's your thing, if that's your kind of vibe, then I would say definitely go and have a listen to it. But yeah, just not my kind of thing, really. But that's no criticism. Everything doesn't have to. And speaking of things that aren't my thing and all the rest of it, yeah, Steve Harris has been praising the Blaze Bayley era, saying that people are probably respect it more now than they. I mean, I'm not sure if he's doing this just to sort of put his weight behind that era, or just to wind Bruce up. But either way, I thought it was really nice to see that he was going back all the way back to those years and saying what an important time it was for the band, and Blaze really held it together and was a really good guy to work with, and he likes those albums. And I thought it was just a really nice touch, because it's been a very, very long time since all of that happened, and I thought that was classy of Mr. Harris. I really did. And what else? Mustaine, good old Dave. I really like what he had to say here. Basically said, look, there should be at least one more Big Four show before Slayer retire, and it should be in the San Francisco Bay Area, or LA, where there was a huge thrash scene as well. And I just thought, do you know what, that is a really, really nice sentiment. And he was like, look, before Slayer go, before there isn't a Big Four anymore, it should be something that we try and do. It'd be really cool. He couldn't help but sort of have a bit of a dig at Metallica. It seems the further out he gets from the Big Four, the more he starts slacking them off again. But all fair fucks to him. It was, it was. I just thought it was a really good idea, and not something that he had to come out with. But yeah, all the same, I was impressed. Impressed is the wrong word, isn't it? But I just thought it was cool. So anyway, that's all my usual shit out the way. We've got a lot to get through, guys. This is only part one. I will release part two between Christmas and New Year, as always, to hopefully give you something to pass the time away, and just be able to stick your headphones on and zone out from everything and everyone, and have something to listen to. To be honest, I've done 2-part Christmas specials right from the very beginning of the podcast, and this year is no different. And the theme was festivals. Now, unfortunately, 2 people that I haven't been able to get on were our live agent, Sharon Richardson, who represents tons and tons of bands and was keen to come on, but it's just been a schedule thing. She's just not been, either she's available and I'm not, or I'm not available and she is. So it's, but I'm hoping to get Sharon on the podcast, because now she's agreed to do it, I want to get her on there anyway. So I hope to get her on in the new year. And also Simon Hall, who is a stage manager at Bloodstock. It would have been really cool to get Simon on. Not that it's, I have got people on from Bloodstock, so hang on. But yeah, it would have been really cool. Because it is mainly promoters and bookers. Well, it's mainly sort of festival owners, festival organisers that I've got on. But we have got marketing, we've got press, we've got Bloodstock's official interviewer. So it's all, there's plenty of stuff in there for you. And in fact, why don't we start with the man who created the Amplified Festival? So from absolutely nothing, just a field somewhere, it was decided that, do you know what? We could do a festival here. And this is what you are now going to get. It's really cool, actually. I mean, we obviously played Amplified the first year, which was a crazy experience, let me tell you. But it was very, very cool. We had a really good time, and you know, it's going to get bigger and bigger and better and better. So the festival is run, organised, booked. The man who does everything is this man you're going to hear from now. And this is my chat with Gary Paterson. Hello.
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 How you doing? You alright?
Yeah, I'm alright, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
You got your coffee? You all sorted?
I've got coffee now. I've got my coffee in my, it looks like a fairy cake mug. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a fairy cake mug?
Well, that's what's printed on it, I think. It's fairy, is it fairy? I don't know. Well, maybe more of a gatto, I'm not quite sure.
Well,
I'll know more when I got to the bottom of the coffee.
Yeah, let's not split hairs over type of cake.
No. It's got cream in it. It'll be all right.
So how are you, mate? Sorry to trouble you so early.
Oh no, that's all right. Shit happens, doesn't it? So,
this was.
Hey, what's going on with you anyway? What happened in the evening or whatever?
Oh man, yeah. I'll tell you. By the way, we're already recording, so I'll tell you about that.
Right, nice.
I'll tell you about that. I'll tell you about that afterwards, because people will be sick of hearing about it. But by now, because I'll have gone on and on about it.
Yeah.
I wanted to start just really with like going right back to the beginning, and if you can remember, when did Amplified first kind of start forming as an idea?
I've always had the idea of wanting to do a festival anyway, and then when I was actually working in a bar in North Leach itself, there was a guy who was one of those PCOs. And he said, me and a few of the lads are going out in Cheltenham next week. Are you about? And I said, well, normally I would be, but I'm putting on Puddle Mud at the Guildhall. Can't be off, I'm doing a show. And he goes, all right, so actually put on gigs, do you? I was like, well, yeah, I've been putting on gigs for years now. I was in a band a long time ago. And he was like, all right, didn't know that. He goes, I thought you were just a barman. And I was like, oh, hail and mighty have fallen kind of thing. I was like, yeah, I'm just a barman, but I'm a bloody good one. And then he said, what do you really want to do? And then I said, I'd love to put on a festival. And he's like, well, what do you need? I'm like, well, bloody big field, mate. He goes, I know a bloke who's got a field. In fact, he's got quite a few. I'll go and get his number. And he popped down to a local cafe, came back with a little scrap of paper with the guy's number on it. And a couple of days later, I'm in his, sort of, I'll say, working farmhouse kitchen, flagstone flooring and, dogs and, everything else going on.
Yeah.
Guy makes me a coffee, and then we just started discussing an idea. He goes, I've heard you're the guy who wants to put on a festival. Tell me all about it. And then we just started from there, really.
Wow. So that.
And then suddenly you're just, literally, I've got to think of a name.
If that's the field, that's the physical setting, but presumably, you needed some kind of financial backing as well, because you can have a field and a desire to book bands, but there is definitely one key ingredient missing out of that. Yeah,
I used to have a house. Quite simply. So yeah, if I tell anyone I sold my house for rock and roll, just pure and simple.
So you literally, so what? You sold it, or you remortgaged it, or what?
No, just sold it. That was it.
Right.
The idea was I obviously didn't want to, but yeah, just ended up just selling the house to finance the event.
Wow. Right. Okay. So that's certainly an eggs in baskets situation. So how's that working out? So that explains why you live in a tent now, then.
I'm actually living at home with my mum in the spare room, which is nice. So I've still got I've got an office set up for the festival, which is all good. So that's all fun. I'm just back at home.
So
45.
So presumably the idea is that that Amplified gets bigger and bigger, starts making some money, and you're able to get out of home.
Yeah, it would be nice. It was always, very, very, very few events will kick off on the first year. And obviously, you're moving forward, getting to the third year to get the event established on the actual, festival UK calendar. Which I think we're doing quite well at the moment, and that's just move forward. And I think although money is always there, I think I've never been driven by that. Which I know everyone probably says that, but my first and foremost is to make sure people who come enjoy themselves and the bands enjoy themselves. And I sort of, that's my enjoyment from it. But obviously, the financial aspect does come into it. But like I said, it's just I wish I had a bigger house because I could probably put on a bigger festival.
Well,
I only had a mused townhouse, so. It doesn't go any far.
Well, what about? And what a first year it was. Actually, let's before we jump forward to actually the first year of the festival. Obviously, we played. Actually, leading up, were you aware of the amount of red tape and admin and all the rest of it that was going to go into it? Because presumably you had to apply for licenses and all the rest of it.
Yeah, obviously, I've run a lot of music venues anyway, and from being in a band and knowing what it takes to, what bands require when they arrive, also running venues, I know about applying for licenses. It's just literally you're trying to take a live music venue outdoors, so you think, oh, we're going to need some toilets and some fencing.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, hang on, where's the power coming from? I'm not going to run an extension from the nearest farmhouse. Here we go. And then suddenly, you do realise. But I think there's obviously, obviously finding the site is probably the hardest part. You've got to find a landowner who's willing to let you just, in a sense, possibly turf up his ground. Once you find that, it is literally right. The local residents, they're going to be a little bit, hasn't ever happened there before. They've had, like, say, steam rallies and things like that, and lots more horsey things and huntery things and all, the normal sort of country life sort of stuff going on. And then it's literally just you sort of like meet the local council first, then you go to the district council. And there is red tape there, but a lot of it is just as long as you sort of put everything in departments and just in your head and on a big spreadsheet, which I don't technically use, I just use big wall planners. It happens in stages. So literally, I think we applied for the license without actually having a name. And I always say we, but it's normally just me who started it all. Obviously, friends, as some of them, they've all come along and helped as we started. But literally, you get the license, and then they say, like, you have to send this to the local fire service. You have to check out, local hospitals, deal with local, even down to like taxi firms, bus companies. You've got to tell them that you might close a road, and you've got to deal with road closures. There's the health and safety. So you've got all of that kind of very serious stuff, and then there's obviously insurance and things like that, and everything else for the public insurance, and then even then you start looking at power. So I think realistically with the site, as you can tell, there is a lot, because I keep on going off loads of different tangents. But the way I can only describe the festival site is it's a war zone basically. And what do you need? You need to get sanitation, you need water, you need toilets, you need security, you need power, and then you literally just build up from there, and then you just start building the site. And then you suddenly think, well, hang on, festival needs a name, needs some artwork. Oh, I've got books and bands as well. Oh, I need a bar. So there's a lot. There is quite a lot. Now you think about it. And if I need a stronger coffee,
I love the way.
I think when you get down to the basics of it, there's a hell of a lot to do. Hell of a lot.
I love the way you said there that I need some bands, I need a bar, and it's almost like you'd built that sentence for talking to me, who of course was in a band but played on the bar.
Yeah, funny, because the first time I met you, was like, as well on the side building, I thought, who the bloody hell is that over there? Am I allowed to swear? I swear a little bit.
Yeah, you swear. That's all the fuck you want, mate.
Over there. Oh, amazing. And who the fuck is that over there? Look, who the bloody hell is that over there? And there's some guy climbing up the wall, sort of like hanging off the stage, and I'm like, hey, oi, almost like get down. And over walks you. And I'm like, what are you doing, bud? Nice greetings and everything. Oh, I can't wait to play it. Yeah, it's my first ever outdoor show. So, sorry about the rain now, but, putting you in the bar. But I know how excited you were to actually be there, and, just it rained.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've still to this day have never played an outdoor show. And that was as close as I've got. But hey, look, I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm sure I'm sure that's something that's in our future as a band. But but to get to that point, obviously you had you got Andy was involved booking his stage as well, and when it comes to the booking of bands, which I know is obviously, I mean, apart from all of the the logistics that go into putting a festival, but the booking of bands, really, it's kind of where you kind of stand or fall. I mean, how did you how do you go about getting bands? Is it like, oh, I'd like to see these bands, or is it just talking to agents and saying, look, who's around, who's available at this time of year?
That's probably the sensible approach.
Yeah.
I tend to start and go, right, who do I want to headline? If I'm just looking at my stage, and I obviously book the main sort of the bigger bands, or like the main stage acts, really.
Yeah.
And I'll say, right, who do I want to headline? So if I said, for argument's sake, I don't know, Iron Maiden, never going to happen, but if I did, I'd say, right, how do I get from the first band on at, say, 11 o'clock and take the festival attendee on a journey up to that band to, take their ear on a little trip, and that's the only way I sort of try and do it. And I think, so first of all, I just think I want to book a band, and I go, right, I might Google them, I might even know them, I might book them before, some might have them that I've booked a couple of times, so it was easy to speak to their agent. And I think that there's obviously a lot of it as well comes down to trust. I mean, if they know who you are, obviously with the new year, with the first year festival, people are obviously they're going to be wary of it, as they should be. And I think, I mean, to be honest, if I'm going to be perfectly frank, it is probably the hardest part of organising the festival. The red tape, that almost takes care of itself, because it is legal. It flows, and you've got deadlines to meet when you put in the license. You've got so many weeks for people to query it. You might have a meeting about if local residents have got an issue with, like, oh, that traffic didn't work, or how's traffic going to flow around the village and so on. But literally the hardest thing is dealing with the agents, because it's
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember. I remember.
I mean, that's the most frustrating part. Frustrating part of it is, I just want to book a band, and I find it's literally, I just want to put some bands in the field. I don't want any stress or hardship about it. It's just, I like the band, I want to book them. It's kind of, can you come and play? And then obviously just start discussing fees and dates, stuff like that. Really. And then they start going, oh, who else is playing? I'm just like, oh, does it really matter? You go on stage when you're due to play and play the best and get off.
Yeah.
Go to the bar, play in the bar.
But I know, I understand your point when you say frustrations, because I know that there was a certain band that we are on the same agent as, who you were all, it looked like it was all happening, and then, and I mean, everybody listening to this would know who they are, and then all of a sudden, one of them remembered they had a family holiday at the time of the festival.
I think stuff like that. I mean, the agent, bless her, she worked blooming hard to try and get it. And that you can't. Those things sort of happen, and it's happened again. Let's just quickly jump forward. It was happened again this year. I thought I had a headliner, and lo and behold, one of the bigger festivals has come along and snapped them up. And that's really frustrating, because I can't compete with those sort of festivals yet, and it's quite frustrating when you think you've got a band, and then the big boys come and play, and they've come and crushed all my toys,
Yeah,
but, and it's one of those sort of things. Like I said, but yeah.
Had you actually got as far as signing them up or anything like that?
Got as far as fees agreed, and I will call you like Monday morning to confirm. And then suddenly Monday morning comes, and then afternoon, sorry, hang on, 36 hours ago it was a dead cert. Now suddenly it's just another festival's come back in, and you suddenly think, will we use it as a bargaining tool? You never know. I don't know.
Yes,
it's an industry that it's kind of, but like I said, agents looking out for the best of the bands. I mean, it's not. There's no, they don't know where they're sending you.
No.
Even if it's just like a little pub gig, they don't know where they go. You might know the pub and go, we really want to play, and the agent goes, oh, you shouldn't be in there by now. It's those sort of things, and when you sign up to these, I mean, I obviously prefer dealing with bands direct. I remember years ago I booked Frank Turner, just Facebooked him, and oh, can you pick me up from the train station? And I said, I can get my mum to make you some sandwiches, and it's just I'm just a jovial guy, I'm just a polite bloke, and I just think, do you want to come and play? And you pick up someone like Frank Turner from the train station, he's a bloody tall bloke, mine, and then, you can book him again, and then suddenly, 4 years down the line, oh, sorry, Gary, you've got to go to the agent. And then the agent goes, sorry. And you're like, oh, Christ, but he said, but that's the way it is, it's the industry you're in, and once you get signed up and stuff, they are looking at your best interest, but it is just frustrating, because it's like, I just want to book a band, and I appreciate if they're not available, or if the fee's not what, isn't what I particularly want, but, like I said, it's literally just trying to just book some bands, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is,
bands for people to come and enjoy,
Well, the thing is, I do appreciate that, and the thing is that unfortunately for you, there's a lot of promoters out there who want to book some bands and want to deal direct and don't want to deal with agents, and the reason for that is that they're not prepared to sign a contract. It's all it's all promises, and then you get fucked when it's like they've done a shit job of promoting it, and they turn around and say, well, we haven't got the money. And not that that's happened to me, but it's a story that that I hear again and again. And unfortunately, agents are in place because they have to be. And that's fully understandable, and it's kind of it's just frustrating. One thing I've always is you make sure when putting on an event like this, the first and foremost is I want the bands to be happy, and I want the punters to be happy. Yeah.
If the trade is a little bit, I'm really sorry, but first and foremost, it has to be about the band and the punter, because that's what the punters come to see the band, and the band want to play in front of the people, and you make sure those two elements are looked after, and that's the two sort of like cornerstones really of putting on even any event. I mean, when I used to book shows in little clubs and stuff, I'd always make sure, even when I was in the band, I want to meet the promoter who's booked me. Even if we just went down to London and play in front of 8 people, I want to make sure the bloke who's booked the band are there. So when the bands arrived at my sort of venues, even if we just left the place, sound check, let's go for a pint somewhere else. Get out of the room. You don't want to be in here all bloody night, and that kind of sort of like personal touch. My mum's always done, the catering for all my bands. It's like a little bit of family. It's a nice little element. It's not like like so when you get too corporate, it's just almost faceless. But I think I remember years ago I had electric eel shock in my mum's kitchen. Three crazy Japanese guys getting fed to the hilt. And then more food coming out, and they can't say no because their manners.
Yeah, they don't.
And out comes the cheesy garlic bread, and they're like, no, can't eat no more. And then they do a show, and they couldn't jump because they said they were too full. And it's but it's that kind of it's just. I mean, I like doing stuff, and it's the sort of thing I've always wanted. I love meeting bands and booking bands, and I'd love to be in a band again, but it's just it's just live music, and it's amazing.
Well, yeah, and the thing is that there is another part of it, of course, that and sometimes this comes from management, or sometimes it's the agent, or sometimes the band themselves, which is perception. Because you can have a fee that they're happy with, but they're either not happy with their place on the bill, or they're not happy with which stage they're on, or they're not happy that they're middle of the bill, and it's literally ticking all of those boxes, isn't it? It's ticking the box that the bands that the fee is fine, but there's all those other little boxes that have got to be ticked as well, because ultimately there is someone in the chain is concerned about perception and how the band is perceived, and we can't you can't be on that stage, you've got to be on the main stage, and you know what I mean.
I suppose again that's fully understandable to agree, and you kind of get into this sort of again I never mention which agents, but you get some agents and they go, oh, who's on before and after, and I'm like, you don't understand the concept of Amplify, do you? Where we literally flip-flop stage to stage. So it doesn't really matter who's on before, because you've got an hour gap on that particular stage.
Yeah. And
then you're off over at the very metal art stage, or you're in the bar stage, or whatever. It doesn't matter who's on before. There's an hour. Don't panic. But again, some agents will request that. Oh, well, they're bigger. They should be above them. Well, why is that? Why should they be above them? And it's kind of, and I get the perception idea. Oh, they might have an album out or this, or do you go by Spotify views? Is it Facebook likes? Is it if they've got a new album out? Is it they've just toured? Is it they've done this, they've done that? For this year when we booked Doyle, the agent was adamant, we need a higher slot. I said, mate, there's no slots. You've come late to the party, and I really want him to play. He wants to play, but this is the slot there is, and I've had to shoehorn this guy in, and I want to, and we've got the room to do it, but I can't, when contracts have gone out, I can't suddenly start bumping people around because, oh, sorry, I've got a better band now, that's rude. So And I appreciate, there's, like I said, it comes back to, I look at the headliner, and then if I suddenly plan the day to get to where it's got to get to, and suddenly that headliner can't do it, that's when we start struggling. Because then you can think, now we need a band like that isn't the same we wanted. Oh, bugger. Now then suddenly you start, we're okay this year, but obviously for that, you start it almost looks like you're scrabbling around for somebody all of a sudden when you're quite, confident in who you were booking. And then suddenly, I've looked at loads of bands, and then all of a sudden, oh, bloody hell, that agent now, I have the same agent. I can't keep going, oh, can we have this band, please, for the headline? Well, hang on, last week you asked for that band, now you want this one. Oh, and next week you'll be coming back for another one. Well, just give me one of, who have you got? And I think, comes back to what you said earlier on, is it, if I went in with, who do you have available, rather than me going, I'm picking who I want, probably might be a bit quicker, but, But then, like I said, you've got something like, TechFest, and they've managed to confirm the Sugar a year in advance as the only UK show. Now that's ballsy on their part, and great for the Sugar, and great for the pool for that festival, if that's the only show they're going to do. But I've got other bands who say, we can't commit that far ahead. I'm like, okay. Or we're waiting to see what else comes along. Well, I've got slots to fill. I'm not a festival where I can do like the Bloodstock and just announce one band. I'm not, whacking where they can sell out before they've even announced the band, or a Glastonbury. I need my full list to hit, with the publicity, sort of angle. We've got to come out fighting, really. And I think, when bands say, we can't commit all this or that, and some bands don't know what they're doing, admittedly, and I understand that as well. But it's just, okay, so again, you can tell, my tone's changed. It's been frustrating. It's just, I want that band, I want to book them, how much? And you get into that row, and I remember in the first year, again, I won't mention the band's names, that's unfortunate, but you just kind of go, right, I really want that band. I only find them on YouTube, because I just, that's how I find bands. I go to loads of gigs, and if I like the band, I think, it's almost like if a band makes me want to get up on stage again as a performer, I'm like, they're worth booking to me, because they've made me, they've instilled that kind of enthusiasm in me. And I'll just go, I tell them my Facebook number. I found this one band, I thought, they're really cool. Send them a text, there's our agent, cool, send an email. And then you get to fees, and it's very difficult, because I don't know what bands cost, I don't know what, bands require from a monetary angle, I don't know, it's very hard, again, to know what a band's worth, and is it worth, what are they actually worth to me? So you kind of go, right, okay, I love this band, I've got a slot at, say, 3 o'clock Friday afternoon, can you give me an idea of fee, please? And they come back, then they fire back, no, okay, this is going to be difficult, isn't it? Can you give me a ballpark figure, please? And the one agent came back and just went, literally no, thanks Gary for your interest, or no politeness, and that's what gets. But I appreciate, again, they get a lot of requests, admittedly, but just a one line saying we don't do ballpark figures. I'm like, okay, well fuck you then, because I don't know where we can't go from there, because I can't. And one agent I did actually ring her up, and you obviously know who she is, and it was literally trying to book that one band in the first year, and I said, look, I don't know what they're worth. You don't know. Well, you obviously know. I don't know if you've got a wall chart or what you've got in front of you. But if we just go 3, 2, 1, and I shout out a figure, you shout out to me what you want, and see where we're at.
Yeah.
Because there's no other way I can do it. I could ring up and say, right, I want to book this band, and I offer £500, and they go, can I put you on hold, please? And they turn around and say, who's this bloody twat? This band normally goes for £5,000.
Yeah.
Or I go, can I book this band for £5,000, please? Can I put you on hold?
Yeah.
Did you just snigger? Goes on hold. Goes to I've got some right chance here. Well, no, hang on, this bloody idiot here, he's offering £5,000, he only goes for £50, we'll take that. Do you know what I mean? I can't win. Whatever I go in with, I'm in the dark. And it's kind of, and I think, our agents is trying to get the most money they can, or is it just, if I don't know if I don't offer a suitable fee, they think I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very hard kind of, it's a massive chicken and egg, and I'd rather they say, right, there's one site, I think it looks a bit of a dodgy website to me, but they've got a list of all these prices for all the bands, and it's like, £250,000 bracket, £100,000 bracket, $50,000 bracket, blah, 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 and you sort of go, I've gone and booked, someone like, say, I don't know, some 41 or something stuck in there, and then in like the 10 grand bracket maybe, or you've obviously got, Metallica in the $250,000 bracket or something, you just think, well, it would be better if they could give you that, but they don't, because they almost want to get them a little bit more, So, like I said, it's just when it comes to fees and stuff, and like I said, when it was, when it came down to the one band, I said to the agent in question, 3, 2, 1. If for argument's sake, I said £5,000, and she comes back with between 3 and 6. I'm like, well, there you go. Look, we're in the same ballpark. You know.
Yeah.
Now we can do a deal because you know I'm serious because I value the band the same as you, or that's what you're selling them out at. You know. And then obviously fees that will sort of dictate, in my eyes, where that band go on the bill. You know. Because you're not going to pay a band who's first on £5,000 and pay a headliner 50 quid. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be nice, and if Metallica want to play for 50 quid, they're welcome. But but it's that kind of thing. It's just, you know, so, and like I said, you know, it is probably, again, I keep saying it's singly probably the most frustrating element of the entire process. You know, and it's time consuming as well, and it's, I wouldn't say stressful, it's just annoying. So there's an offer. Can you get back to me?
And so I'd say your frustration.
That's really quick, or it doesn't. You know,
your frustration with that process is the lack of transparency, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah, and it's just a lack of, like, you know, if they're. I mean, I think if I said, you know, in year one we tried for Bush, right? They've done bugger all, and then all of a sudden Gavin Rossdale ends up being on The Voice or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that's their fee right to the bloody ceiling, isn't it? You know, up it goes. You know, that we didn't know that, and you kind of think, well, how much can I offer them? You know. We looked at loads of bands, you know, even like, you know, bands like say L7 and stuff like that, and they said, you know, you've got to fly some of these bands, you've got to fly them in, you've got to pay for the flights, you know, and they want hotels and stuff like this, and then that's suddenly, you know, that's another £2,000 on top, you know, straight away for these, you know, for overseas bands, unless they're over here, and if they're over here, they're going to play somewhere else, so you don't have the draw. So it's very hard to get, you know, you look at Bloodstock and they've got a couple of exclusives, but they've obviously, you know, much more sizable budgets, they get a lot of people through the gates. But I think it is just that transparency. But then nobody wants to know what these bands are going for. I get asked by loads of promoters, even kids studying at university, doing theses on, you know, band management and stuff like that. Oh, can you tell me how much you paid for X a band? No, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say any fees to anybody, you know, because it's not. I can't. You know, and again, it's the same when agents say, who else is playing? I can't tell you because I haven't announced that band yet.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be privy to that information because you're then, if you wouldn't like it if I did it to you. You know, if I suddenly said to, I don't know, such and such a company, agency, oh, by the way, bye-bye, but hang on, does he tell the other agencies that he's booked? Do you know what I mean? I can't let that information out, but agents try and get it off you, and I'm like, you know, they know how the industry works, and I shouldn't have to, you know, let my sort of bands I've booked out prior to try and attract another band, you know?
Yeah.
And like I said, yeah, the transparency of it is quite frustrating, because you just sort of, you know, like I said, it just comes down to, I know what I'm doing. I'm not an idiot, you know, but I know I can't book. You know, same like, say, someone like Bloodstock, they know they can't go out and get the Iron Maidens and the Metallicas and whatever's, and the Guns N' Roses, because they could, but they wouldn't get enough people through the gate, or they'd have to put the price right up to warrant paying, you know, I don't know if GNR said they were like 2 million or something. You know, that's a lot of money. And it's kind of, yeah, it's again, like when you book bands for small shows and stuff like that, I mean, if I want to book a band and they're asking the festival for 10 grand, they're not asking that when they're playing an O2 Academy. Well, they might be, I don't know, you know. Or are they asking that when they play the Lemon Grove in Oxford or something? You know, you've got to think, right, well, if a venue only holds 250, 300 and they're booking that band, they're going to have to be like 70 quid a ticket. No one's going to pay that. Is that their one band of that year that sells, you know, promotes their festival? You know, there's another, you can look at that angle. But like I said, yeah, it would just be nice to know, right, this band, 5 grand, okay, all right, that's nice, I'll book them. Or this band, you know, this band of 20 grand, that's out of our budget at the moment, you know.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, speaking as it from being in about, I mean, Sharon always sends us any offers we get, and sometimes she'll accompany the email with, like, you know, with a little line about, you know, what it's about or whatever, or, you know, her take on it, and then she'll ask me what I think. And I'll usually make a decision, and sometimes she might push back against it. But usually, if I've made a decision for a good reason, and I feel I've thought of, you know, of all of the whys, the wherefores, and, you know, whether or not it's something we should do or not. But sometimes it will be a case of, you know, she'll send me an offer and I'll just reply and say, look, you know, in fact, I did it this year where we got an offer and I emailed her back and went, well, that fee is a bit 2015 if you ask me. So can you go back and say, we want something, you know, it needs to be something beginning with a blank. And I know they say they can't confirm anything else at the moment, but if they can't confirm main stage and a fee starting with a particular number, then unfortunately, we haven't, we can't do it. And they came back. They came back within a day with the fee and confirmation of main stage, and I was like, right, great, let's do it. And it was.
Sometimes, sometimes it's really easy. This year when we booked Ginger, it was literally just someone brought the band to my attention. I thought, that's fucking good, aren't they? She's got some lungs on her. And then went to the agent, and literally, I don't know, within 8 hours booked.
Yeah.
Probably the easiest, quickest booking. Some agents are like that. I don't know what. And I suppose when the bands get bigger or whatever, they are. Oh, we actually tour. We've got an album we tour next year. We don't want to do the festival. Let's just do a club tour. Again, it comes down to that. And I think, like I said, dealt with Sharon quite a few times, and she's one of the good guys out there, and it's sort of. But like I said, it is one of those sort of things you just think, and again, like I said, I appreciate that bands want, they have to get a certain fee and everything else, but sometimes they don't even come back. We had one agent, they said, this Russian band are interested. That'd be really interesting, and we thought, we could put them in there. That'd be quite fun for a little bit of a giggle, get some press out of that. And then they came back with a fee of $25,000. I was like, oh, that's a bit freaking rich, that one. So I fired back, really sorry, it's out of our budget. And they said, it was quite a good quick email conversation sort of thing. And they said, oh, what would it take to a fee to become accessible? So we take bloody 4 zeros off the starters.
Yeah.
And is that all? Yeah, because that's again, we were wildly off on what we thought they were going, that sort of band were going to charge, And obviously, I appreciate if a band's coming from Russia, or wherever, wherever they're coming from, whether it's Australia, Japan, it's a long trek.
Yeah.
So the fee has to replicate that. But like I said, sometimes I laugh at a fee. Other times I'm shocked by it.
Yeah, and I think, but I think if you can at least get the dialogue going, you know what I mean. I mean, for Sharon, for instance, our agent, I'm sure there's instances where people approach with like ludicrous fees, and she'll just she'll fire a response back straight away, going, well, look, no.
Well, that's the good thing though, because when it's done that way, and it's kind of, again, I was dealing with one agent, and this agency's won awards, and I'm like, I don't know what for. Is it for ignoring people, ignoring emails? You just kind of think, look, I've been nice enough to send an email that's, hi, my name's Gary, I'm organising the festival, blah blah blah. Would you I'm interested in this band, please. And you get back, oh, blah blah blah, yeah, dates are available. What's your fee? So you fire back a fee, and then literally 6 months later, nothing. You're waiting. You sent a chase-up email, another email, a follow-up email. Oh, isn't, say, $5,000 enough? How about $7,000? Why am I just bartering against myself here? Can I have a conversation with the agent? And it's just the sort of the trail goes cold, and you wonder why. And then other times you kind of you've spoken to the band, and they said, oh, our agent's waiting for the email, and you're then texting the band again. Oh, agent hasn't got back. Oh, we're chasing up. Well, why isn't your agent getting on this? There's an email. You've actually asked the agent to look out for the email. He's now had 3 emails.
Yeah.
Is he on holiday or something? What's going on? Why am I not being spoken to? And it's that kind of thing. I don't think there's no rudeness. Maybe they are on holiday. I don't know, but it's that kind of thing. Just like I said, with someone like Shane, if I said I want this band and there's a fee, you go, sorry, could you go to this? Yes or no. I'm going to decide that. And if I think, okay, I don't mind putting on an extra £300 or a couple of grand or whatever, that's my call. But when you get nothing back, you just like, well, what's going on?
Well, the thing is, I sometimes think that nothing, that response, that is basically a no. But I know it's like, well, if you don't want to do it, say you don't want to do it. Don't just ignore me.
Yeah, and I think it's that kind of thing. It's just I've been nice enough to send an email that's polite, and I appreciate, like I said before, you probably get loads of them. I get that. But I can, like organising this event, we've countlessly said so many times on Facebook and on the website and all that, to apply for this festival, please go through this channel. Do not text me, do not text Andy, do not text so-and-so, do not Facebook me, do not do this, do not do that. Do not send any, they will be deleted. We will not read them because we're busy. And I know it's horrible to be like that, but I've got other things to do. So, but I will try, where possible. Any band that says, oh, we're such and such a band from so-and-so, we'd love to play your festival. Yeah, everybody wants to play a festival. I will copy and paste a reply that's polite and say, I'm really sorry, but this is the route you have to go should you wish to apply. Please don't apply via an email or Facebook or that, go through the website. But you're still going to get, when we close band applications this year on the 31st of October, we will get a deluge of bands saying, can we play? It's like, well, no, the application process ended. Oh, we didn't know. Well, where can I put it? I don't, we're living in this internet age now where it's always online. It's on Instagram, it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook, it's on, it's on our website.
But I love that typical 2018 response, that entitled response of, well, we didn't know, like you have failed in your job as a festival because because this band in buttfuck nowhere who no one's ever heard of didn't know that the application. It's like, well, that's not on the festival, that's on you, dickhead.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of these sort of things. Like I said, I love being in a band all night, and again, even when I was in the band, I would send out burnt CDs and stuff and everything else, and I'd post them to venues saying, look, we really want to play at the Zodiac in Oxford, we want to play, the Beer Keller in Bristol, we want to play here. Can you find us a support slot or anything? Because we're from Cheltenham, we're not a big band, but we want to play, we want to get out of town, we want to, expand our horizons and stuff. There's legwork in it. You have to go and find it. You have to go out and, even if we were playing somewhere in Oxford or whatever, I would personally, and it's like, we're going back, like, my last gig was in 96, so we're going back, 20 odd years. But I would literally, time for a reunion, I think, I would send out, I would find all the local independent record shops, and I would post them a few flyers, a poster, and a burnt CD saying, hi guys, we're so-and-so, we're playing at this venue next week, or 2 weeks' time. If you like our stuff, it'd be great if you could just play a track in the shop, because you're an independent, you're not HMV and stuff. Yeah. You're an independent shop, and it's a couple of tickets to come and watch us, You get out there, you can't go to every town you're going to play and post yourself. I used to go, used to get caught by the police fly posting all the time, when that was the thing back in the day. Yeah. I went out and tried to promote my festival, to promote my gig, even out with the festival. I just went to see, Diamond Head last night because they played Cheltenham. I met up with, Brian and all that and had a good natter. And then, they gave out a few flyers. I go to all these gigs. I pay to go to these gigs. I travel around the country. I went down to Mammoth Fest in Brighton the other week to just flyer the event, obviously with the organiser's permission. I'm not just going to, bowl in like that. But it's that kind of thing. I do go around, sort of, last year I flew over to Dublin to meet up with Dead Label. It's not a, that was a bit of a nice little jolly trip, but it's that kind of thing. It's an element of the event that I like, is actually going out and meeting these. I want to know who I'm booking almost. I want to see them in a different scenario, because it's an enjoyable process, and it's an enjoyable thing to be doing. But like I said, you come back to the sort of dealing with the agents and stuff, and it's just like, again, I just want to book some bands. It's not hard, and just that being open about it. Some bands are, some agents are. So they don't want to do that. It's not what they want to do at their stage of their career, blah blah. And I completely understand all that. But then it's done. There you go, finished, door shut. Move on to the next band. Not just, well, I emailed them a couple of months ago. I haven't heard back yet. Shall I go back again? And like I say, I know, you should probably take that as a no, but it's not hard just to send an email. Really sorry, Gary, the budget's not, that feels there. Or, one band we wanted to get this year, and I think there's a lot of festivals want to get them. They just come back, sorry, not over till this month of the year. They don't wish to come over in July if they're going to come over in June or August or September. They don't, so you can't have them. So that sort of whittled down. In my mind, it's suddenly working out which festival they're actually going to play, or which ones are available in the UK they could play. And you think, okay, well, we're not going to have them, and it's that kind of thing. But at least that door was shut.
Yeah.
And I can move on from that. And sometimes agents will say, look, they're not available, but we've got these other bands. Who do you like?
Yeah.
And I picked up a couple of smaller bands. I picked up a couple of smaller bands that way. But at least then there's a conversation about it, and they're interested. Okay, band A can't play. We've got band C, B to F. Pick one of these guys.
Yeah, but you know what? That for me is an agent who is properly doing their job, because they're doing their job for their business, because it's like, well, no, we haven't got that band, but there's other bands you can book, and they're doing the job of those other bands as well, because it's quite simply gigs that those bands wouldn't have got if the initial approach hadn't actually been for somebody else. And that is really what, one of the major reasons why you have a live agent, is to pick up stuff like that. I mean, obviously we're with K2 is huge now, but that's not always been the case. But we know that people approach, we might get offered stuff where it's, people haven't actually, they haven't been after us, but we've been put into the hat as one of the bands they can make it. You have got, and they've gone, oh right, yeah, cool, okay.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is. I mean, I suddenly think, oh, can I book? And you suddenly think, how many bands are there? Hundreds of thousands, millions probably. And you suddenly think, literally, I cannot think of a single band. Right, I couldn't give you a name right now. You know, it's that kind of thing. Who can I book? And you get a brain freeze. You suddenly think, I didn't think of it, and that's a cool shout. Like I said, you sort of, I went in for this band, and then, do you know, I haven't bloody heard of that band for a few years. I'll book them, you know. I mean, like, going back to earlier on when it was like, with the sort of agents like Ballparks and all that again, when we announced that first year lineup, so-and-so band actually texted me saying, oh, a load of our mates' bands are playing, we really want to get on that bill. We're so-and-so. I'm like, I've heard that, I remember that name now. Oh yeah, your agent, he's an asshole. So literally, I get in a text conversation with this band saying, I'm really sorry I can't book you. I've tried. And what happened? Look, I don't really want to get into a slang match about your agent. No, and the tone really changed. No, we want to know because we're really pissed off. And I was, oh, hello, this isn't going to go well.
Yeah.
And I basically said, blah, blah, blah. Rude email, we don't do ballpark figures. So I basically went, fuck you then. And he was like, oh, fucking agent. Right, we had enough of him. And I left the gigs in months. Because the agent was doing that,
Yeah.
So some bands will go, that's not good enough. And it's that kind of thing. I know, like I said, you sign up to the Beast, and they will look out for you. They have to. That's what they're there for. If someone comes in and wants to book you, and they say, "What's £500?" You go, "What? That's way below." We don't want to do that. And we don't want to play some little toilet, in Cirencester, for argument's sake. Because it's not where you want to be right now. And I understand. But again, if that conversation's there, amazing. When it's not, again, it comes down to the most most frustrating thing in this whole thing is the lack of, everyone bangs on about, communication. But we're in that age. It's not hard to send a quick email or a text, sorry, not available.
Yeah.
Or, thanks for your offer, but not acceptable. Great, thank you. Out of my league, I appreciate that. We move on, and it's a lot easier then. But like I said, when an agent comes back, oh, we've got this band. One agent said, I booked a couple of bands through, just a couple of weeks ago. The one band we wanted, it does take time, and then another band said, sorry, the lineup doesn't really fit where we want to be, which is, I was thinking, that's a bit odd, because you're on tour with three of the bands. But, that's the band's choice, so that was the band's decision, which is, I find really odd. It would have been a good shout for them, but, that's, again, you deal with that sometimes, and it's sort of, and again, I get, our lineups, they are a bit all over, not over the place, and it's, there is thought in there, like I said, because we're jumping from stage to stage. If I had a classic rock band on the main stage, I know Pilka would have something on the very metal art stage that will counterbalance that, and vice versa, and that's where, because the one thing we want to try and do there is you don't just have your metal stage, you don't have your punk stage. You can watch a punk band in the bar on the main or on the second. Move around the site a little bit. Don't just be stuck. I'm just going to watch that stage all day. Because then you're going to see a different. And it's that kind of thing. It's that sort of, again, what we're trying to do there. So like I said, this sort of the book and the bands thing. It's fun when it's so cool when you get an email back. They're in. It's like, yes, we've got them. It's taken 6 months of wrangling when you could have just said, probably in a couple of hours. But again, like I said, a lot of the bigger bands, they're waiting for other options,
Well, funnily enough,
when that option comes in.
Well, funnily enough, we had a little bit of an interaction this year, didn't we? Which was kind of weird because it was like it was me and you direct and kind of like getting Sharon in as well. You know what I mean? It's and I'll be completely transparent with you. The fee was great, but it was purely the slot that you offered for me. It just the perception. It wasn't. With the greatest respect, it just wasn't prestige enough. It wasn't,
that's the thing. I think it was an idea I had. I thought that'd be in my again. I've got a different look to it to you. I'm not looking at where.
Yeah, you're just looking at your day. Yeah, you're just looking at your day and what would work in that room at that time. Yeah. Yeah,
what a wicked way to end it all. They're back and they're going to officially do. It's like I suppose when we had Evil Scarecrow, and then they inadvertently played the main stage when they shouldn't have, but then we just brought them back. It's just one of those sort of things, and it's kind of, and that's no slight on any band at all. It's again, it was just an idea we had, and again, we get a lot of festivals. People, this sort of online, the online trolling. I love it when it's just sort of like, oh, you put that band there, shit. I mean, we had one person. I think we've only had one critique of our lineup so far, which is great, because we're trying to find new bloody bands. We're not booking the Metallicas and the Guns N' Roses and the Iron Maidens. We're not booking the Megadeths, the Sabatons, and the Slayers. You know what I mean? We're trying to find.
Yeah, but by the same token, I think, for me personally, I think there is a particular group of bands who are on every single bill that I ever see on a certain level of festival, and I think
and that's what I think.
You're trying to mix it up, you know.
Yeah, and we are. I mean, the thing is, we want to invite certain bands back, and it's not. I go, oh, can you get that band back? And even this year, we've had every band from this year want to come back. Reef said they wanted to come back, but they said we won't. We'll wait till we've got another album out. I know, Puddle and Mud want to come back. Source said they had a great time. Therapy had a great time. We're not, we're a small event. We're a grassroots festival. We're trying our best. You know what I mean? We're trying to find these new bands, and then when we put out the lineup, and suddenly you get one person, and that's the person that's pissed me off the most. It's one person. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm working hard on this. I'm not. This isn't a little hobby. This is everything. Like I said, I've sold my house. Everything's into this. I'm not. And I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to fold. I don't want to give in. It's going to work. We know it's going to work. But when one person says, "Oh, what's this festival?" They've obviously blown all their entire budget on Mushroom Head, in brackets, why? I don't know, and just booked a load of lower tier bands. Fuck you. What do you mean lower tier? What do you mean? Where's that coming from? What is it? Are they second rate? Are they shit? These are bands that are new. They're not all of them, admittedly. We are. We're finding newer bands, but a lot of these bands. We look at some like Massive Wagons. They played first year. We look at Hands Off Gretel doing loads of cool things. It's these sort of things. These smaller bands, or you've got there's Massive from Australia and all that. All these bands are doing stuff. They're selling out little venues around the UK. They're on Planet Rock Radio on repeat. They're on Kerrang Radio. They're out there. They're in magazines and all the rest of it. Why are they lower tier? What do you mean by that? What? Because we haven't booked Metallica, Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses. When you would say, "Oh, we're going to go Iron Maiden again," boring. Do you know what I mean? You can't win with some people, and it's kind of. I said, we're trying to find. Pilco books his bands because he's obviously worked with them, or they used them, and that's the whole idea. It's the very metal art stage because they're his clients, basically, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's booking bands he's worked with. He knows inside out, and he loves these bands. He's passionate about what he does. I'm passionate about what I do, and it's kind of, and like I said to you, I book bands based on if they make me want to get up on stage. I don't care if they're industrial, punk, indie rock, metal, thrash, or whatever. I don't care if they get me and they go, I like that band. That's why I try and book them, and I hope that other people go, they trust my judgment that I'm not going to book a shit band. A band can have a bad performance, don't get me wrong. But we're trying to find the best bands. Like I go to so many gigs, and other bands go, "Oh, you're really cool. I saw a band last night. I thought they were wicked." And it's that sort of thing when I think, "Oh, I wouldn't mind booking them." I'll have a chat with them. It's that kind of thing. It's you find, and people have texted me saying, "Oh, Gary, I went out last night to see so and so, or like some like Crossfaith or whatever. The support bands are amazing. Check them out." People try and throw me bands as well. It's not like it's kind of it's quite nice when people say, "Oh, I like this band. They've got me enthused." Let's see if Gary can get them on Amplified. It's that kind of thing. I think, and then you suddenly get this sort of don't know any of the bands. That's the bloody point, you twats. Come and see some new bands. Don't go because you're going to go to Bloodstock. You're going to go to Download. You're going to moan. You're going to go, "Oh, we've got the same lineups again. Same band. They've obviously brought Cradle of Filth back. Oh, Download have brought Black Sabbath back again. Oh, bloody hell!" It's just like, okay, we'll go to the New Blood tent, or go to the Sofa stage, or go here and find go and find some new bands. That's what festivals are about. They're a melting pot of musicians and sort of people who go because they love music.
Yeah.
And don't berate a band because they're not as big as you think they are. They're a band. They're doing the old transit band around the UK bloody thing.
But that's what I love. But that's what I love about. That's what I love about playing festivals is I'm really, really banging the drum at the moment for we're playing with Akakoki at Christmas, which is a lot of people are going, "Well, that's bizarre," and it's like, yeah, great, because their fans are going to get to see us, and our fans are going to get to see them, and that's the whole point. When are people going to realise that if we go on tour with 3 other thrash bands, we're playing to the same fucking people every fucking night? There's no one's coming to that who's never seen us before. And I love, you've got to expand your audience. As a band, you've got to expand your audience, and that's why it makes sense to and I think that's a big reason why festivals are more and more popular as well, is because it is a chance for bands to expand their audience and play in front of people they wouldn't normally play in front of and make new fans. Because if you're not making your audience bigger, you're just going to die.
Yeah, exactly. The biggest buzz I sort of get from it, or to know I've done I say job, but I suppose it is a job, it is a business or whatever, same as everything else, is if someone says, "I went to Amplified and I saw X band, fuck me, I didn't realise how good they were, I've found my new favourite band." That's what it's about. You found a band you didn't think you were never going to go and watch them because you never heard of them before, but you bought a ticket. You've taken a punt on a festival you never heard, especially in the first year. You never heard of Amplified. It's a new thing. You've got to give it a whole weekend. It's not, I'm going down to the local dog and duck for a fiver. You know, you've got to pay 60, 70, 80, 100 quid to get in. You've got your tent, you've got your food, you've got your bit. You know, it's an expensive thing to go to a festival. You know, there's charts out there that say they work out how much people actually spend when they go to these events. Oh, my tent's sucked. I've got to get some wellies. I've got to get this, got to get that. You know, it is expensive to go to a festival. So go with an open mind, knowing that you could see some awesome bands. But when you get people online, and it is this trolling thing, you know, and people have got a right. They've got a right to say what they want, and I haven't got a problem with that. But when they just go, don't know any of them. Well, there's the bloody Spotify playlist. We've collated all the band songs, you know, that are playing over the weekend. Go and have a listen. And then if you don't like it, great. But don't just go, don't know any of them. Well, how do you know about you only know about Metallica because you wouldn't have known them when they first came out.
Well, I mean, well, it's basically at no point do you go, right, well, that's, you know, that means that you've got a finite amount of bands that you're ever going to be into then. If you're you know,
exactly.
If you're not prepared to give new bands a chance, then that's it. I mean, you know, is anybody saying sorry, my music taste is closed now? There's no other, you know, there's no other options for any of the bands.
I think you would think that when you see some of these comments online, and you kind of think, you know, regardless of which festival it is, and so you know, the sort of, I wouldn't say vitriol that's thrown out, but the sort of, oh, I ain't going anymore because it's shit. It's the first time I'm never going to go. But you know, you've got festivals that they've announced like 8 bands. Download haven't announced anyone yet, I don't think. You know, you think. You know, they're probably already slagging off the download lineup. You know, and it's not even out yet. You know, there's going to be someone waiting patiently by his keyboard, like, oh, you know, dribbling and like, you know, blood coming out of his eyes. Oh, I don't bloody Iron Maiden again. Oh, and he's already there. He's ready. You know, he's ready to type it up.
Yeah. And
you just kind of think, and it comes to these sort of, you know, we've had discussions, and you know, when it's just my crazy idea of, you know, putting on a festival, and you get people like Andy involved, who's very, very knowledgeable about, you know, everything, you know, basically, it seems, and other friends get involved. You start having discussions going, why do people actually go to festivals? What attracts people to festivals? Is it the big sort of showstopper headliner, or is it just the event itself? You know, oh, I'm going to go to a festival. Like, you know, Bloodstock's one, you know, is one of the best out there because it is a family. You know, there's not a phenomenal amount of kids there. It is a family-friendly festival, and it's just that everyone's the same. Although there is different. You know, when they had is it Xeon or whatever, Xeon Trail, they had that, and I was like, what the fuck are they playing? They were one of the bands of the weekend. You know, they book a band like Skindred. Oh, Skindred's not good enough for Bloodstock. One of the bands of the weekend. Don't think because it's they're a bit of rag and metal or whatever. They're not. It's not. You know, Bloodstock used to be like a, you know, dark metal festival. No, it bloody wasn't. There's always been a bit, you know, sort of out there with like Saxon Blair and stuff like that. You know, it's never been a sort of black metal festival, dark metal. And then some people go, oh, well, I'm not going to go if they don't announce, you know, whoever for the headline. You say, why? You're going to go? That's bullshit, you know, because it's a weekend away and it's a good laugh, you know. And you're going to meet all your mates, you know. And it's kind of, and I've always been honest. I only go to Bloodstock because all my mates go, you know. And it's just a bloody good weekend. I don't really care who's playing. It's funny you should say that because last time I saw you, it was just, you know, we were in VIP just drinking away. I think I saw 3 bands in 2 days. Well, I know I didn't see any of Gojira. I heard about it and said they had a great light show. I didn't see any Judas Priest. Do you know what I mean? It just wasn't. They're not bands I don't like them. I love all bands, but it's just wasn't. I wasn't in that zone at that point at that festival to go and watch them. I was somewhere else chatting to somebody probably, and I talk a lot, as you know, and it's just, you know, oh shit, I missed Gojira, up to Daisy. Oh well, catch them somewhere else. I saw them at Download the year before, so it's all right, you know. It's just kind of, and again, you go. It's just that. You're going to meet people you've met before, or you just carry on chatting, or, you know, someone's going to ask me about the festival, or this or that, or, you know, I bump into Adam Gregor or something, have a quick chat. You know what I mean? You're away from home, just in the field, in a tent, you enjoy yourself. And it's kind of, to have this kind of already preconception of what festivals are doing, and, oh, the lineup's shit, or I'm not going, when an event's announced 8 bands, and they've got another 100 to announce, you know, you think, you know, just, like I say, if you just shut up shop about who you're going to listen to now, you're going to be stuck in a routine. It's like when the bigger bands tour, they know point blank. You know, if I want to go and see the Rolling Stones, I don't give a shit about their latest album, to be honest. I want to hear Brown Sugar and, you know, Paint It Black and stuff. That's what I want to do. I want to listen to their classics. And the big, you know, the bands know that, but they've still got an album to sell. They're going to have to bung a couple of new ones in that people don't really want to listen to, or they're not as, you know, it's not in their head yet. They're not classics. They're not, you know, like say you go and see Metallica, you want to hear one. You've heard one 1,000 million times, but you want to hear it again. You know, it's their best, you know, one of their big tunes. It's that kind of thing. So you can't be closed like that. You've got to just go and go, right, you know, I don't know who like I said, Hands Off Gretel, I'll go and watch them. It may not be my thing, but wow, they're quite crazy, they're quite cool, And you find a new band you might like, and I think, like I said, that's the exciting thing about these events, you just go, and as long as you go with an open mind, you're going to get rock, metal, thrash, punk, let's be honest, you're going to get all of those, And I just think, just find some gems,
Absolutely.
All these events, we all put up the Spotify links, so go and find the bands, just go out there. Don't be like, buy a bloody new T-shirt, you know what I mean? It's just sort of like, don't just keep buying that same old one because it's been reprinted, It's just sort of, and I think like, it's just, I said, that's why I do it, and now I'm back being excited again because we've got off the agent chit chat. It's kind of like, it is, get out there and just, I love nothing better than just going to a gig. And I mean, years ago, I used to put bands. I'm like, look, guys, you've got 7 bands on tonight, and it's £4 to get in. It's the price of a pint, and people are moaning. And it's all been on Facebook. We all know about it. Support local venues. You have to. There's so many of us shut down in Cheltenham. We're losing venues all over the place. But people will moan. They'd rather moan and just, and not just part of that £5 and go and watch some bands. Still out a few more venues,
Yeah,
and
but
you might find a band you actually like, and you'll get.
Yeah, but I'm seeing it in comedy as well, mate. It's actually getting people out the house that's the hard part. It's every...
I mean, like I said, I used to manage a bar in a venue over in Stride, and it was the venue itself was like an old chapel in an old convent, believe it or not. Amazing venue. The backdrop was the old stained glass window with the font. It was a wicked place. It was all carpeted, but it was all seated. You could have standing, but obviously the old floors may not take it. But it had like 150 people, and their concept there was to film it and stream it live, so you could sit at home and pay to watch a band in a small, because it was a small venue. It was only, literally held about 150, I think. And they would have acts like the Magic Numbers and stuff like that. So all kind of folky, rocky, sort of stuff. But yeah, that was a new idea where you could literally just sit at home on your laptop, or you could. And I think their idea was they thought about people who had a lot of money who had like home cinemas and stuff.
Yeah.
And their surround sound systems and all that. And yeah, just live stream this gig because you couldn't get that many people in the venue, and they were trying to do very kind of like really really nice kind of cool music, And I know Van Morrison recorded some stuff there and things like that. It was a really cool place to be. I had a really nice recording studio, everything else. So they moved into that era, but like I say, a lot of people just sit at home. Not everyone. They will go to the big gigs. But then, again, as we know, people are moaning if Metallica on tour again, it's like £100 a ticket. Well, that's what it is. So how many people they employ?
Yeah.
It to get that sort of shit over from America. I'm a massive Queen fan, as everybody knows. And when they say they're taking these like 5-6 articulated lorries into Argentina and Brazil, it's a lot of money. And that was back then, back in the 80s and whatever.
Yeah.
It costs a lot to bring these big shows. And I recently went and saw Iron Maiden in Birmingham. I saw one of the last Black Sabbath shows and stuff like that. Great, the production's there. You're watching. It's almost like Vegas, You're watching a big theatre show. It's a spectacle, and you've got to pay for that. It's not cheap. It's not, it's not about, the bands don't really need the money, or those sort of level of bands, they don't need the money anymore, but it's still a bloody business. They've still got people who work for them.
Well, they might not need the money, but they also can't afford to lose money. And it's very easy to it's very easy to lose money when you're putting on a tour of that size.
Oh Christ! I mean, that's why when you look at acts like the Rolling Stones or Britney Spears and people like that, they're putting on big shows, big productions. Whether it's just video screens or pyrotechnics, or you've got like pink flying through the air on a cable or something, that costs money. And it's it's a massive industry. I mean, I did the Music Expo a few weeks back, and you got Wyatt Wendell's there off Planet Rock, you got Toby Jepson from Wayward Sons, Rob from Stampede, Press was there. We're all just like chit chatting away, and then we do a Q&A, and it was true. I mean, you got Toby and Wyatt are very knowledgeable, and it comes down to money. It's not, and as Wyatt and Toby said, it's a business, and never, even though it's the same. It's not, people get into a band because they love live music, they want to play in front of people. I know that, but I had some guys in bands come up to me saying, oh, how do we get onto the festival thing, or as a band, what do we need to be, to be attracted to someone like you to book us? And I said, well, you've got to think. Don't think 'cause you've got great songs. If your image, if your image is shit, you're not going to go anywhere. If people can't tack into your image, like with the Spice Girls, something like that. They had 5 people in the band who were all different, so they're going to appeal to a mass market. They're not just 5 girls all looking the same in in suits. Got the sporty one. And it's that kind of thing. I said, but normally like a rock band, they're going to go out in black jeans and whatever band t-shirt they like and a leather jacket and perform on stage. And I just said to the guys, you've got to think it is, and it's horrible when you feel like that, but yeah, it is a business. You've got to look good. You've got to sound amazing. You've got to have the right artwork for your album. don't produce. And they said, oh, what merchandise should we get? And I said, well, whatever you get the best you can, but the lower quantity, because if you get shit, people are going to know it's shit, and it is you're a brand as well. It's like we've noticed with Amplified. I'd rather spend more getting T-shirts printed by a more national-based company to ensure the quality's there, but you've got to pay for that, and it's kind of, if it's, there was, I think it was some of the Bloodstock T-shirts this year. I'm having a go at them, by the way, but they were falling apart. Why that was, whether it was a production problem, who knows? But you never want that,
Yeah,
you can give them the money back, we'll get them another T-shirt, but it's better to avoid that at the start. People wear Amplified T-shirts everywhere because they like the Stag logo and stuff, and it is a nice brand. It's what we've tried to aim for. We want people to be able to want to wear it even when they're not. I mean, again, I get that kind of buzz. When I go to these festivals and I see an Amplified T-shirt or a hoodie or a cap, I'm like, oh, amazing. They're at another festival. I don't want to piss those sort of festivals off, but it's no different to someone going there and wearing a Whacking T-shirt. I'm just like, wow, it's cool. Someone's actually wanted to wear that today. I'm sure you're like it. You see an Acid Rain, that's fucking cool, man.
Absolutely, mate.
My
Absolutely.
Band on them.
Yeah, every time I see one to this day, I still think that's really fucking cool. And sometimes we get people we get people tweeting us or whatever saying, "Oh, I'm at so and so, seen 3 Acid Rain shirts so far." And it's just like, that's so fucking cool. Well, look, mate, we're gonna have to wrap this up.
Someone's actually decided to get up in the morning and wear, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, we're gonna have to wrap this up, but before you go, we're just going to finish the main part. I now have some questions from some Patreon subscribers. So hang on there. That's the main part of the interview done. Okay. So, cool. But we're now going to go into question time. So bear with me one second. And there we go. There was my chat with Gary. Such balls to take on a new festival, to just go just dive in and do it. I think it's absolutely commendable. It really is. And you just think of the range of stuff that you've got to be across. It's almost like, booking bands is just a small part of it when you look at the logistics of a festival and everything else. But look, I'm telling you what you already know, what we've already talked about. So without further ado, I'm going to go to another new festival. There has only ever been one Stone Deaf festival, but it went very, very well. And now we're going to hear from Jenny Duncan, who is involved with Stone Deaf. She runs basically the marketing. I thought this would be an interesting, a different side of things, and be an interesting angle. And it turned out to be that way. So, without further ado, here from Stone Deaf Festival is my chat with Jenny Duncan.
Hello there.
Hello there, Jenny. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Isn't that all really nice and polite?
Oh, well, that is me.
Oh, really? Right. Okay. So, the world of marketing must have been on the way to changing that at some point.
No, I think it's just probably me. Wow.
So we got just to sort of give people listening a background. We sort of hooked up on Twitter when you first joined. I think myself and Acid Rain were some of your earliest followers.
I think you were. Yes, that's quite correct. Although I used to follow Acid Rain far long before Twitter was even invented, so much kudos.
Oh, right. Okay, I didn't realise that.
No, you're welcome.
Let's go off on a tangent. So have you seen us live over the years?
I have seen you live, but it was in the 80s, I'm afraid. I haven't seen you more recently, but that's just purely because life and children and gigs don't sometimes mix.
Yeah, look, it's absolutely, totally fine. I completely understand, but I'm now curious as to where you saw us and when.
Okay, so we might have a friend in common called Craig Dalton.
Ah, right, okay, yeah.
There we are. And so I'm a friend of Craig's.
So you're initially from the northeast then?
Originally, yes, I'm from Newcastle, but you really can't tell. I know, I sound very Heinz 57.
Well, yeah.
And so Craig's parents and my parents are friendly, and we used to go to Duncan and saw Suzanne, and there we go.
Right. Okay. So yes. Well, for a start, you called it Newcastle. So yeah, it doesn't say you've definitely lost the urge to
What, the
call.
Newcastle?
Yeah, the urge to call it Newcastle.
I know, it's because my children kind of go, Mum, it's Bath and grass. And I have to go, no, it's Bath and grass.
Oh, brilliant. So to give you a bit of a background, I kind of, and this is all going to go out over Christmas time as a two-part Christmas special on festivals, because it just kind of developed. I'd done an interview with a friend of mine who set up a festival, and I just kind of got to thinking that it was obviously it's something that is huge, certainly in the metal scene, and relevant to everybody listening. And so I've got agents, bookers, festival organisers, and I wanted to get your perspective of somebody who markets a festival. I don't know how involved you are on the booking side, if at all. I was presuming you're just purely the marketing side. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't do booking, but we're quite unusual in Stone Deafers, so we all have a bit of a say. But no, we definitely have a guru band booker who is responsible for his master of art and pleasing the population and us. Right.
Okay. Because obviously you're a fairly new festival, having had your first year this year. Tell me how that went, and what was it like to market something from a standing start?
Okay, so it was a very interesting ride. I think I had offered to help initially, but for a variety of reasons didn't quite work out. And they came back to me earlier in the year, from about February, and asked if I'd be interested in marketing them. And I leapt at the chance because I'm a music fan, and I think it's really important. And I really missed a good, solid one-day festival that celebrates the art of music and the friendliness of it all, rather than other bits and pieces that kind of sometimes creep in. And so from a standing start, it was actually quite an interesting, very much of a challenge, I'd go for, is a good phrase. Certainly from a Stone Deaf point of view, obviously we're a completely unknown entity, and the fact that we're all volunteers was interest some people, and also, quite frankly, maybe other people stand up and think, oh, go, they can't possibly do it. So to have pulled off our first inaugural Stone Deaf Festival and being quietly pleased how it went, so much so we're going to go for around, difficult second album, festival number 2, and it's been very positively received. Obviously, it's nice that we've been able to do what it says on the tin. We've put on a good, solid one-day festival that other people want to come to because they're fans like us.
Yeah, and that's a really important point you make there, which I think might have made a few of the listeners sit up where you mentioned there that it is in fact one of those very rare things these days, which is a one-day festival. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, you're outdoor or indoor?
We're outdoor.
Yeah,
so
I thought you were, and that makes it even rarer. Because for me, and I will be speaking to a few people over this, where I guess I'm old school, where I always think if it's indoors, it's an all-dayer. It's not a festival.
Yes. Yeah, well, and it works for us. We want to. We all, Helicon a days of going to, Donington Monsters of Rock type one-day event, really enjoying it. Yes, the weather was part of it, and, I think at the end of the day, we missed that particular aspect of festivals that isn't really covered in the UK market currently. So we all got together and decided that there was definitely a need for it, and thankfully we've been proven that other people wanted to join us in the field too.
Right. I mean, and it's funny you should bring that up about Donington when it was one day and all the rest of it. Because is that a kind of, because obviously I noticed the bill as well is kind of metal / hard rock. So it's you're kind of, you very definitely know the marketplace you're going for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just something that we miss. I think that's it's all come out of. We missed that as an individual. A group of individuals got chatting over Facebook and said we all missed it too. So there's a Facebook group full of people who was a clearly unidentified market who were similar. I mean, to put it into marketing speak, everybody else said they missed it too. We thought, well, we'll try it and see how successful it was. And, thankfully, we seem to have hit the nail on the head in the fact that other people have also agreed that it we don't want to be something that we're not. We're not aiming to be a 3 or 4 day festival or a 2-day festival or whatever. We're aiming to be a great, solid. It's all about the music. You won't miss anything, because there's 9 bands, one after another, with a little bit of entertainment in the middle of it, and great beer, low prices. You can park close to where your tent is. It doesn't cost the earth to come. It fills up a bank holiday weekend. It's it's an adult atmosphere, but children are welcomed. And if that's what you'd like to do, then come along and join us.
Yeah, no, that's great. And when you say so, what did you have any other forms of entertainment there as well? Because I can appreciate for one day it must be quite hard to get people who aren't bands to commit to it.
Well, I think bands miss it too. I think certainly that the atmosphere that we created last year, and certainly the bands that got themselves involved, have felt the need for this particular festival too, and that's really a positive thing. Certainly the bands that are getting involved this year have also said, yeah, you're absolutely right, but that's something that we remember doing. Or certainly, some of the new classic wave bands that are coming through said, yeah, I remember listening to my parents talking about it, or actually that's what I want to be able to go and do myself. And so certainly they all also feel the need for a one-day festival.
And it's less of a commitment, it's less money, and all of those, of course, are important factors in the current marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, we're not pricing ourselves to do anything more than what we say on our site as, come, have a nice time. Well, I'd say a great time and a fantastic time, but, have a great time, bring your friends, sit in the field, watch some music, drink some beer, eat the food, go and sleep in the hotel at the end of the day, or come over and camp. We're offering both. And at the end of the day, that there is there's some stalls there, and they're great stores to have, and there's also great food outlets. Like, what's not to like about something that doesn't cost the earth? Or you can remember the days of old when we were all at it. We're quite select at the moment in our numbers because we're only a small festival. There's, a few thousand last time, and obviously we're aiming to have slightly more this time. But, you never know. It could turn into that great big bank of stack of amps that we saw in the Hallican days, and we were part of making that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those people listening, could you let us know where the geography of the festival and also the bill that you had on last year?
Okay, yeah, sure. So obviously we're in Newark, which is near Nottingham. It's central London. It's quite well serviced with regards to roads, rail, etc., etc., etc. We chose that because we wanted to be. There's a lot of rock and there's a lot of heavy metal, and there's a lot of, quite a lot of it is Midlands based. It does seem to be. I live in the South Wirral, so Stone Deaf is made up of a load of people from all over the country and some of them abroad. We all got together, and the idea behind it is we wanted to get to somewhere fairly central that we could all get to. That makes it worthwhile for everybody to be able to get to. So last year, obviously, on our bill, we had the most amazing Skid Row, and they were, knocked the socks off the audience. They all seemed to really enjoy it. We had the Choir Boys, we had Wolfsbane, Graham Bonnet Band, who obviously Graham Bonnet was on the original Donington Monsters of Rock stage, and he graced ours. We had Anvil, the up-and-coming Massive Wagons, fantastic Hand Designs, Nerve, oh my gosh, what a fantastic band they are, Chrome Molly, and then we had Fallen Mafia, who were our Battle of the Bands opening poll winner. We used Crusher, obviously, legend of old, who compared our stages and brought the whole thing together.
Brilliant. I mean, that's an incredibly strong lineup for the first year of a festival, and really kind of well put together, because I think it. I think I said this on Twitter to you. I was like, wow, great, but I mean, it's like not my own personal kind of thing. But if it was, I would be going, wow, that is the perfect bill. It's a really, really impressive bill and really well put together. And Chrome Molly are on there. Wow, now there's a name I haven't heard for years.
Yeah, they're stonking. They just were fantastic and were so well received. And I think the great thing about Stone Deaf is that it's particularly, with our following on social media, and obviously we did Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, is that some went away with another favourite band. And I think that's a really honouring position to be in, and really humble as a promoter, that actually we're encouraging other people of various ages to find different types of music. It's not all the same poppy stuff that kind of comes out. And, it's sometimes you might not necessarily have caught a band, but actually seeing them live really inspires you. And I know I've certainly followed quite a few of the band's comments that they've had, and they've felt the same way, that they've walked away with new fans from the arena.
And that, that's what playing a festival is all about, really. Is getting in front of people who wouldn't normally see your band, and that's one of the reasons why festivals have become so popular, because it is very difficult as a band to get heard over the noise on social media. People tend to follow the bands they follow, and unless they get recommendations from people, or you pop up on YouTube or in Spotify due to an algorithm and checking another band out, the only way you actually will check another band out is if you're at a festival and someone's playing. I mean, I know when we played Bloodstock back in 2016, we had a massive influx of people on our socials who had never and purely came to see us because we were the last band of the day after Mastodon, and it was literally like we kind of won both ways, because it was either people who were disappointed with Mastodon's set and didn't want that to be the last band of the day they saw, or really enjoyed Mastodon's set and wanted to make the day last as long as possible, so it's kind of getting out in front of audiences that might not necessarily buy a ticket to come and see you is just a vital part of a band's career, at the moment.
It is. Yeah, you're quite correct. And I kind of think, £50 for an arena or £60 for camping, unless you're buying a bulk buy or whatever, it's not a lot of money for a great day's worth out enjoyment. And 9 bands on our bill, you won't see those 9 bands again on that exact bill. So they are kind of special occasions and memories that we're making. And certainly from last year, everybody, there was a few minor niggles, like there always are with the first bit of festival, but everybody seemed to genuinely enjoy the day, got what it was about, wanted to come back again and bring their friends, and who's not going to enjoy that?
Yeah, absolutely. And while you're here, why not give us a plug as to who's been confirmed for this year?
Okay, so I can confirm, obviously, because there it is in social media land, but I'm very happy to confirm. We've got the most amazing Glenn Hughes, so, he's going to perform classic Deep Purple live tracks and a few others, as the voice of rock. It's fantastic. We've got Diamond Head, again, legendary, well-known band who have formulated quite a lot of, quite more metal bands than kind of heavy rock.
Yeah.
We've got the Amarets coming over from Scotland, who are, they ladies 3-piece, fantastic. And we've got Massive, who are coming all the way over from Australia, who, once again, they're all bands who love their music. They've got fantastic stage presence. They fire up the crowd and leave them wanting more. And, those are 4 bands that we've got already confirmed. I'm very excited about it.
That's brilliant. So, from a kind of marketing and promotion perspective, I know you set up a sort of inverted commas business Twitter account. And how do you spread the promotion? I mean, are you adminning the Facebook page? Are you just mining Twitter? How does what avenues are you using?
Okay, so that's quite an interesting one. My remit is marketing and press, so actually I'm covering everything and anything in those particular fields.
Yeah.
As head of it, I get to kind of dabble in a bit, but obviously we've got people who are dedicated to the cause, so we're quite lucky in that we've got a team of people who are working very hard behind the scenes, and we've identified a couple of people who do Twitter. We've got a couple of people who do Instagram. We've got a few more people who do Facebook, because that's one of our biggest pages at the moment.
Yeah.
And then we're obviously identifying groups of people who might be like-minded and want to listen to similar kind of music, and then obviously feeding off each other and creating a quite a great web of contacts for encouraging people to find Stone Deaf and to utilise the resources that we have. And then with grassroots, we don't have backers. I think that's the important thing to say, is that because Stone Deaf was started off where there was a little bit of individual money that went in from a group of people, and then we have a group of legends who all bought T-shirts and committed to Stone Deaf before there was any line-up last year. We've done exactly the same thing with our early bird tickets this year, is that at the moment we are financing ourselves to ensure that the festival occurs. Obviously, we would love to have sponsors and promoters, and some of them are coming along the way, which is fantastic, and people are getting quite excited about it. But at the moment, it is all through ticket sales, T-shirt sales, and kind of little events that we're doing, that we're able to fund Stone Deaf and put it on at the scale that we have, which is an amazing achievement in today's, I think, heavily saturated festival market. Everybody used to be last year, it's very heavily saturated, but it is that there wasn't a one-day festival that you could go to with this type of music on.
Yeah, you've created a niche by going back 30 years and working and all of a sudden we'd say history repeats itself, and it's a new idea, but it's an old idea just brought up to date.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not professing to do swings and roundabouts and fire-eating dragons and various other bits and pieces. Just not what we're about. We have the music. We've got a good, solid atmosphere. It's a very secure site. I think the nice part about it is that it's very quick drying, so you might have some muddy trainers and some muddy bits and pieces, but almost there's a fair bit of hard standing too, which is quite nice. Wear your cap, protect yourself from the sun, and do all the kind of things that people are, kind of like very important to people now, but just basically come and have a great time. We're a very friendly festival. Certainly a lot of the reports that we had is that people, our volunteers are volunteers, and they're all wanting to do it for the benefit themselves. So, there's not an I am, it's definitely a we are, we're a team.
Oh, that's great. And did the sort of the more classic kind of publications give you any backing as well? Like, for instance, I'm thinking of Metal Hammer and Classic Rock, because I can imagine that bill kind of appealing to their readers.
Yeah, I think that's quite an interesting one. I think it's sometimes really hard to play with, and to be noticed by people. And I think people have got their eye on us. Certainly, I have had a few PMs and direct messages, etc., with regards to people who said, yes, they're watching what you're doing. And I think, if we're finding it tough, then being a band must be really, really, really hard too, because it's really hard out there. I don't know what you find about it. I think it's really hard to work out exactly what to do, how to do it, and for those particular people to be able to, just be able to survive in a very competitive market.
Yeah, I mean, there's an old adage in show business, love, which is, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I mean, from our perspective, I'm lucky enough to have been around for so long that there's I wouldn't say calling in favours, but I do know I know a lot of people who will put coverage our way and all the rest of it. But I think, to be honest, it's more a case of people just knowing the band, having been around for so long, and that kind of generates interests on its own. So I think your position is like that, is that band who's just starting out and wants people to be interested. And it's a very and you've got a bit of a USP, because you're a one-day festival, and you're aimed at a particular kind of market that nobody else really is catering for, and you want people to take notice. And I kind of think it's one of those where it's like anything else. I think, you're going to find it a lot easier as the years go by. But I think there's also a certain amount of suspicion from magazines, both online, offline, and all sort of music news sources about festivals just popping up because they've been burned by festivals popping up, disappearing, never being heard of again.
Absolutely. And, I think with the rate of some festivals falling last year, people quite rightly, don't want to stick their hat in the ring too early just in case. They are burnt. My answer to that is you can never be at the first ever festival of something like Stone Deaf, and all those people who are at Stone Deaf, they're our ambassadors. They're the ones that we need to have kept happy and impressed, but also made them feel as though they're at something special. And I think, there's just under 2,000 people there. I think we were able to do that, and certainly the comments that we've had have been very positive, and certainly the band comments that we had with regard to the artists that we looked after. We were able to utilise what we were able to do, and people talk, and I think there's no such press as good press, but obviously bad press could be really damaging. And I think that the people other fans have gotten really behind us. They've excelled how great it is. They're encouraging other bands to get themselves interested. They're encouraging other fans to come, and it is kind of snowballing into the fact that we are making waves. We were little ripples last year. We're making waves now, and that's a nice position to be in. We don't want to run before we can walk. We don't want to say we can, have, super stadium bands there, because at the end of the day, we are a small one-day festival and we are growing. And with time, who knows what's possible? But certainly, people are watching, and they're saying yes, they're interested in playing in the future, and that's a very pleasing position to be in. It's very humbling too, because we've, sit up and somebody's taken notice.
Yeah, and ultimately, with the first year going so well, then obviously there's going to be a second year, I say obviously, sometimes that's not the case, but also, one thing that festivals do struggle with is dealing with the sites and site owners. Whilst I appreciate that's not your particular area of expertise, I presume that they were more than happy with you because you're going back again.
Yes, that's nice to hear, isn't it? And I think, apparently one of the comments were we left it tidier than they actually gave it to us. So that's a
that's a first.
That's all down to, yes, it is. And it's all down to the volunteers. We were all sat there Sunday morning in the tipping rain. Some longer than others, but literally the site was spotless, and we want. You refer to my accent to begin with, and kind of, we want to be done as to how we would like to be done by. I suppose that's the easiest way to say it. We're honest people. We'd like to do it right. We want to make sure that everything is as best as it can be, because if we were a paying punter, we buy our tickets anyway as a production crew, just to sort of, so also that's our bit of money going in, is, we would like it, if I was a paying punter and I wasn't involved in it, would I be happy to be involved in it? And if the answer to that is yes, then I think we're doing a really good job, and certainly that's what everybody else has been saying too. A site liked us, the vendors liked us, the punters liked us, my husband likes me. After the event, that's a bonus, isn't it?
So is he involved in it as well?
Yeah, he assisted me as part of my press, bless him. It's not his background at all, but, it's certainly, our press team, it was really important to make sure that everybody was happy, and so he certainly, had a couple of days off, and then kind of ran around like mad. I did something like stupid, like 29,000 steps on the Saturday, 23,000 on the Sunday, and it was an interesting and very good fun experience.
God, that is the age we live in, isn't it? Are you able to know how many steps the two of you did over the course of the weekend?
It was not bad though, is it?
No, it's not. It just does my head in that I have friends who have the need to tell me how many steps they've done that day, despite the fact that I haven't asked. But I totally get where you're coming from. Yes.
Look, exactly. This time around it was all about the sunblock and having enough bottles of water. That didn't happen 30 years ago, but we've basically modernised the concept of going to a festival, which was great. Well, I can't say more. Iconic, Helican, all those fantastic words that we used to use. I still look at the Facebook group today and go, oh my gosh, I went to that. I stood underneath the Donington tyre, and I've got pictures of me there, and I so enjoyed that particular time. I'd like to be able to recreate that, because I haven't been able to have that on, radio or TV. It's something that we don't really have anymore. We don't have it. I don't know about you, but MTV in my day, it was a great source of finding out about new bands, and actually hunting them down is really quite hard. But there's, a few festivals that you can go to now to find out about new bands, and, new bands are really pushing themselves over social media. You take Massive Wagons, they did the most fantastic kind of method of launch. Likewise with those band pros, there's a few bands at the moment that are doing really, really well, obviously other bands included, in that particular genre, that are really trying to sell themselves and kind of do it slightly differently so that they are noticed.
Yeah, and I'm picking up on that. Have you? Has the festival got a Spotify account? Are you kind of like publishing playlists and things like that? And do you have a YouTube channel and stuff like that?
Yeah, we've got a YouTube channel. We've got a Spotify account. We're quite honoured in actual fact. When somebody who came last year just said that they wanted to set up another one for us. So actually, we've got one as well for Stone Deaf as well, which is quite nice. We're starting off our opening poll competition this Sunday. That runs for it's 5 heats, so it's 5 weeks, and we've got between 12 and 15 bands in each heat, and that's for them to be able to have the ability to say that they're the first band to play on the Stone Deaf 2019 stage. And some of the bands, in fact, all of the bands in there are marvellous. They've done really well. They're getting themselves up and known, and we would really like it to be all the bands that have made the heat have done so well. For the bands that actually then get to be decided on the top 12 amongst the production team, we're having a voting system as to who goes through. That particular band will then be supported by Stone Deaf for the next year. And the fact that we've also started a Stone Deaf radio show via Midlands Metalheads, and that's every other week. And DJ, so it's Adam Onslaught, he's taken over that particular under my direction, but obviously it's his show, so he runs the content. He asked to help us to raise Stone Deaf's name, and I think that just basically shows the ethos of Stone Deaf. It is a fan-based medium, pushing forward what we would like to see. Going forward at some of the festivals that we go to. Certainly, we can do it. We're doing it out. It seems to be hitting the mark and fulfilling the brief that it's been set.
That's awesome, Jenny, and by the sounds of it, it's only going to grow and grow, and I do think that's an interesting kind of model that you've got there, where if people are where you've got literally fans saying they want to set this up or set that, and letting them do that rather than being overprotective of inverted commas the brand, and limiting your footprint.
Yeah, and I think, obviously the brand Stone Deaf is growing. So there's going to be some things that work really well, and there's going to be some things that don't work so well, and we're exploring those particular options. But I think the fact that people just seem to get it, and they want to do it as a voluntary capacity, they understand that it's not, it's not other with bells and whistles on it yet. I mean, it might get to bells and whistles, who knows? But, at the end of the day, we're very pleased to hear from anybody who's got something to say that would like to help join the community of Stone Deaf. Don't get me wrong, it's not a commune or anything.
Yeah, but, it's not a cult.
It's not a cult. But it certainly is, the demographic is, kind of like 17 to 65, 70-year-olds. although we've had older and younger there, and we're a 50-50 base between male and female, which is also quite unusual. And I think, quite often we don't realise how successful it's been until we hear other people say that they've gone to this particular festival. And I was at a concert recently, and somebody said, "Yeah, I went to the concert and I met bands. I saw a band. They were great, and it was a really good festival. It was the first one." I was like, "Really? Oh, what festival was it?" And she was like, "Stone Deaf," and I literally put my hand up in the air and went, "That's ours!" And uncool, but cool at the same time. It was lovely to hear, and really lovely that people, we seem to be doing the right thing. I think as long as we keep doing the right thing, then I'm positive that Stone Deaf will continue to flourish.
That's great, and one thing I'm curious to find out about is it's something that can make or break any festival, which is a relationship with the local authority. Have they again, slightly out of your remit, and if you know, great, and if you don't, not a problem. But are you aware of what that's been like? Have they got behind it, or have they any idea of what that's been like?
Sure. I mean, I can feed back that obviously we did have our local authority group meeting. We obviously had to put ourselves in places. We had to prove what we wanted to do. We had to say why we wanted to do it. We had to have enough risk assessments and valid answers for lots of things before we got anywhere near putting on Stone Deaf. We were very positive in the fact that was approved, and with the understanding that as long as we meet the same criteria again, there's no reason why we can't continue in the future. Certainly Newark have been very interested in us, and the showground are very interested in us, because we're obviously bringing in a weekend's worth of entertainment and money into the local area, which has a positive effect for them. It's a two-way relationship. They've got to be kept happy. We need to be happy. And most importantly of all, the people who come to the festival have to be kept happy, because, you can put on whatever you like, but if they don't buy the ticket, they won't come.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that you managed to get it up in the running in the first place, and like I said, I mean that first year bill was great. Sounds like the second year is coming together nicely, and I suppose we should mention as well what's the date for this year's festival.
Oh, you're very kind. Well, it's August Bank Holiday next year, which is very important to know. The whole idea behind it is that the camping and everything else is available, but it is on the 24th of August 2019 at Newark Showground, which is Nottingham. We have free car parking. We slightly pay more for a camper van. Come along, bring your tent, pay your money, enjoy yourself. Hopefully the sun will shine again, because we were very lucky last year. This year it was. And, come and be part of something that is unusual. Come and be part of a family feel to it, and that's not necessarily kind of age range, but it's more like everybody rock family together. Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, there's a real connection between me and that site. It's also home to Europe's largest antique fair.
Yes, it is. They run on Sunday.
I have been to that many times, because my parents and now just my mother have been antique dealers for 50 years. So
really?
Yeah.
My lovely, come down 2 days early. We will look after you.
That's brilliant. Well, actually, I know quite a few people who actually still do it in the antique community, and one family of which I know who do love a festival. So and also have a camper van. So may well end up taking you up on that. Brilliant. Well, look, thank you.
That'd be very rock and roll, wouldn't it? With your roll, or you come down the 2 days before you load a beer in your mates, and the next day you're back to the bars.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I'll mention it to him. That's for sure. But look, Jenny, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and I'll let you know when this is going out. And as always, you're in marketing. I don't need to tell you to share it. That's what you're going to do anyway.
Yep, we will. It's all good fun, though, isn't it?
Great, absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for your time, Jenny. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and I hope you feel better.
All right, thank you very much.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
Cheers, bye-bye. And there you have it. Just imagine trying to get coverage for a festival, along with everything else that people are posting and labels are getting bombarded with, and you've got to try and fight to be heard above the noise for a festival that is completely new. Also, at Newark Racecourse, in a strange part of the country where, people are going to be like, really? Odd? But, as I said in the interview, not my kind of bill, but a really impressive, bill for an opening year. And they seem to be really, they're doing it right. So, as with Amplified and Stone Deaf, please do support them all you can. Now, I'm aware that is two fairly new festivals, so why don't we hear from somebody who is working on a well-established one? Bloodstock has been around for a good few years now, and the man who handles all band interviews, in fact, interviewed Acid Rain when we played there in 2016. Handles all radio, TV, interviews with bands, so is absolutely manic and on it and interacting with them when they've just come off stage or when they're going to go on stage and all the rest of it. So a completely different perspective of working at a festival. But I mean, it's hardly. It's hardly being a steward. This is the man himself from the Bloodstock Radio podcast. This is my chat with Paul McMonnies.
Hello, mate.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm alright. I'm good, thank you.
Marvellous. That's very good to hear.
Are you okay to? Can you record with this then?
Yeah, do it all the time.
Oh, right. I always just use phone ones. I never use messengers to do recorded calls. So there you go.
I only use Messenger.
Learn something new every day.
I only use Messenger and Skype.
No, right. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
it all hooks up to my remote speaker, which is like the setup that I've got.
Okay.
Funnily enough, it was Bobby Gustafson who gave me the idea.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit of a name drop there.
Yes, as always. We all do it.
We do indeed.
Yeah.
So,
how's life anyway, mate?
Yeah, not bad, man, not bad. I am recording, by the way, just so you know.
That's fine. It's all good.
Cool. Yeah, life is good, man. Life is good. Looking forward to Christmas, which is cool, and I'm really looking forward to getting this fucking album mixed. But we haven't even got one song mixed yet, and it's just taking a bit of time.
Right. Okay.
But
as long as the lyric sheets come out with it, that's fine.
Oh dear, I will no doubt have to explain that joke after the interview. Well, actually, I'll do it now. I once gave the mic to Paul in the crowd to sing along, and as can happen, well, you didn't forget the words. You didn't know the words, did you?
No, I never knew that. I don't really know. I just sort of like mumble along with most songs, even bands that I know inside out. Like, as you know, my love for Zentrix. Most of their lyrics I probably got wrong. It's one of those, excuse me while I kiss this guy moments. It's probably a variation of what the actual lyrics are.
Right, okay. One of those Sue Lawley moments.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I certainly would. I don't think I would have, even if I'd known the words, I don't think I would have sung along with it, really, because I haven't got the best voice anyway. So.
Oh, I am so giving you the mic as many times as I see you.
Well, we did it, was it that Sankfest one up in Burnley? I came on and did.
Oh, yes.
This is not a test, which is dead easy to do, so I did that bit all right.
Oh, you covered yourself in glory that night, mate. That was
all right.
that was
good fun. That was the one when you were on the ceiling rafters.
The one, yeah, and you should have put some money on that because you had predicted it, hadn't you?
I did. As soon as I got in there, I walked in there, massive big, there must have been like 15, 20 foot off the ground. It's just like, H will be up there later on. Everyone was like, bollocks, he's not going to get up there. So seriously, he'll be up there later on. Somehow, he'll get up there. And there you were.
No, wouldn't want to let you down, mate.
Yeah, good. All good.
Excellent. So, you've just got off, you've just been interviewing Soilwork.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, we got them playing at Bloodstock. It was okay. It was good. Yeah, I was told that I would be interviewing Bjorn, but it ended up being David instead. So it was okay. It's good. He was a little bit quiet. Didn't seem as because obviously thinking that I was going to get Bjorn, I did my usual research of just cribbing other people's interviews, and then I'm going to listen to the guy so that I know who I'm going to be talking to and stuff like that. But yeah, I had a different guy, and he was a little bit more laconic and a little bit more sort of slowed down than Bjorn seems to be, a little less animated maybe. But no, he gave me, plenty of good information about their upcoming album and tour, and obviously playing at Bloodstock.
Oh, cool. I had brought Bjorn on this podcast many moons ago. And two things he told me in the interview was that he used to play centre-back playing football, which you can well fucking imagine.
Yes.
And that he was taking up model making to fill in the time that he used to play football. So,
Right. Okay.
so if you do get to speak to him, throw that into the mix.
I will do indeed, absolutely.
This is obviously it's a bit of a change for you, because normally you're on the as you just have been, you're on the interviewing side, whereas this time you are the interviewee. So I'll be gentle with you, mate, as you always are with me.
Well, the thing is with interviewing is I always see it as a conversation anyway. It's a two-way thing, and I don't do Q&A interviews. The same as yourself. It's more of just a chat. So it's a two-way chat, isn't it? So it's it doesn't really matter which side of the table each of us are on. But as I say, you're going to be trying to get a bit more information about me this time than the other way around. So.
Well, to be honest, it'll basically just be like a normal conversation between the two of us, apart from it's being recorded.
Yeah, exactly. So all good.
Yes. And it's interesting that it basically, what you're talking about now leads straight into, what I was going to talk to you about, because you're doing your prep for Bloodstock at the moment, and it's November. Because you've got a podcast to do, which is obviously going to feature interviews with bands who are going to be playing at Bloodstock. So it's kind of an all year round job for you, really, isn't it?
Yeah, so when it first started, Simon Hall asked me if I wanted to do Bloodstock TV at the festival, which is just those 4 days of the festival, obviously. But obviously, I had a radio show at another station back then. The station doesn't exist anymore. And then basically, he asked me to do that, and I said, well, I'd like to do it. Yeah, I'll definitely do the interviews at the festival. But is there any chance of doing the podcast as well? And then talked to Adam Gregory about that as well, and Paul Gregory especially, their dad who started off Bloodstock in the first place. He's a big fan of the radio side of things, and that. So they all sort of wanted to do that as well. So I wasn't 100% sure I was going to be doing that. That was Bloodstock 2016, by the way. So went and did the Bloodstock TV band interviews at the festival, and then
I remember because you interviewed us.
I did indeed, and that was a very very planned sort of scenario, really, because when we first got asked to do it, Simon was just sort of like, just do what you normally do. Well, what I was normally doing at the on the radio station were smaller bands, really. It was up and coming bands, emerging bands, metal to the masses sort of bands, and not that you're not a massive band yourselves, but the likes of Acid Rain and the Evil Scarecrow and that sort of thing would have been sort of like the highest up sort of bands if you want. But the main stage bands and that, I wasn't really expecting to be talking to them as well, and the headliners and things like that. But we did end up doing that as well, so that was a bit of an eye opener.
I think I remember you. I remember speaking to you after you just interviewed Joey Belladonna.
Yes. Well, that was my biggest one, because literally a couple of the first contacts we got were Behemoth and Anthrax, and they were like, "Yeah, we want you to interview them," and I was like, "What? Anthrax? Okay." So yeah, the Joey Belladonna one was interesting actually, because he couldn't hear a word I was saying. So the only instruction I got from Bloodstock for the first year was that it was going to be interviewee only, which is, if anyone that's seen me, it's a good, I've got a face for it. Literally just the camera's on the interviewee and I'm standing off camera. So that went okay until I had to interview Joey Belladonna, who was deaf as a post, and he couldn't hear a word I was saying. So I had to get closer and closer and closer to him, and it ended up that my camera guy couldn't get just me. It had to be both of us on it. So it turned out that the biggest interview that I did that year, I had to be on it as well. Oh dear, what a shame.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, so it was an eye opener, as I say. But And at the time I was very, it was. I mean, we only got offered 2 weeks before the festival, so didn't have much time to prep, didn't have much time to any expectations of what was expected of us, and it was very much a trial basis. It was very much see how it goes, because obviously it's not going out live, it's all recorded, and the idea would be that we would then edit the videos and send them in, and if they were good enough, then they would put them on their YouTube channel, and if they weren't, then they weren't. So it was very much a sort of trial and error sort of thing that first year.
Yeah, because I noticed the difference seeing you this year, 2 years later, and you probably do more interviews at Bloodstock than I do in an entire year, and that's not that's not a fucking exaggeration either. I mean, you really do. I mean, It's just one after another, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I say the first year that we did it, 2016, we didn't get told how many to do or how many not to do. It was just sort of like, just go for it. So we ended up interviewing 78 bands that played that weekend, which was way, way, way too many. But the main reason I did it is because there was quite a few of the Metal to the Masses bands that I knew. And when you got a young up-and-coming band, oh, please, can we get an interview with you in that? And just like, oh, go on, then we'll crowbar you in. And that happened a lot over the weekend. I think when we went, I had about 50 bands booked in advance before we went, and then ended up and added an extra 28 onto it. So 78 interviews, but you sort of lost the quality with it a little bit. And looking back on them, it was kind of, a Metal to the Masses band, you're sort of asking them all pretty much the same sort of questions, and they're giving pretty much the same sort of answers, because there's very few of them that have gone through different experience. They ended Metal to the Masses for X, Y, Z reason, and then, they got through to their final, it was great, and they just played their set at Bloodstock, and it was amazing. So you didn't really get the variety in it. So in 2017, we were asked to cut it down a bit, so we went down to about 30, and then at Bloodstock 2018 this year, we crept up a little bit up to about 40 again. So it is a lot of interviews, but when you spread them out across the whole of the weekend, it's not really that bad. And we do organise it and schedule it so that me, myself, and the camera guys, we get to see the bands that we want to see at the festival. We'll organise the interviews around them, unless it's the bigger bands, in which case we don't really get much of a say. It's just there's your slot. That's what you've got, and you have to take that.
Right. Okay. So everything has to work around it.
Yeah. So that's basically the way that we do it, because obviously it's a voluntary sort of thing. I don't actually work for Bloodstock. It's fan based. Bloodstock are very much kind of by the fans, for the fans. All of them are metal fans that actually run the festival. They've all grown up with metal. Their dad started the festival. So it was just a sort of an invite along, because, as I say, Simon had seen what I was sort of doing on the radio station. I covered the Metal to the Masses London for quite a few years for Mick Wood down there, and I'd done interviews with the bands for that. And so it was just seen as being sort of an extension from there. And it's the same sort of ethos where Bloodstock's got this massive commitment with the Metal to the Masses thing of up and coming bands, and that's where my focus has been for the last few years. So it sort of dovetailed really well with it, but I'm not a professional interviewer at all. It's just, I just talk to people. I've got no media training or anything like that. I'm just a fan that sort of got invited and asked to do it. But you say about the difference between this year and 2016. The main difference is that now, because I have more time to work out how to do the research, and I've got my notes down better as to, and where to guide a conversation and where to jump around with the conversation and that. For the first time this year, I didn't have a red neon sign in the back of my head flashing while they're talking, thinking, what the fuck are you going to say when his mouth stops moving? Which I've had for the last few years. You're just thinking, right, where can I go from here? Whereas this year, I didn't have that at all. I was literally just sort of like, right, I know what I'm going to say next, and I know where this is going to go. And you just get more used to it. It's the same as anything. Practice, you just sort of get more used to where it goes, and you get that more reality, which is a bit sad in some ways, in that you don't get so starstruck anymore. They're just people. You just chat to them as people, and the way that I try to do it, I like to talk to the person rather than the rock star, because I think that's a bit more interesting. Everyone else talks to the rock star, and that's great. They're plugging their album or their tour. They're saying exactly the same things. But I've had some real moments over the last few years where I've said something to someone, you can tell it's something that they haven't really been asked before, and they really sort of open up to it, and I think it works a lot better personally.
Well, if you've got your interviewee engaged, and you can mine a particular avenue of conversation that they haven't had before, I mean, speaking as somebody who's been interviewed a fair amount, that's what you love. Because it's like, loads. I mean, I'm sure you don't do the, you've just come off stage and how was it? And, did you slay it? And which they get at every festival. I totally get what you mean. It's almost like a challenge, isn't it? To find that question that does make them kind of go, oh, and all of a sudden you're on. All of a sudden you're onto something.
Sometimes it's not going to be something that you've prepared. I mean, for the big difference with 2016, as I say, we had 2 weeks, so I didn't really have any notes. So there was a couple of bands that I was interviewing, and quite big bands as well. I won't name them, but there was some quite big bands that were playing on the main stage. I didn't really know. I didn't really understand them. So I was literally, because we did so many, and like I say, that was why it was stupid to try and interview 78 of them, because you just had no gaps in between. So even if you get sort of 5 or 10 minutes, you just literally look through their Wikipedia page or something like that, then at least you've got something. Because the key difference would be, like, for example, you interview a band and you just sort of, like a New Blood band, and you'll say to them, okay, so who were you up against on the main stage? And they'll say, it was whoever, Behemoth. But if you know that already, you'll say, you were up against Behemoth on the main stage as well, weren't you? So how did that go? Just having that little extra bit of knowledge just shows that you've done your research and you know where you're at, and it sets them at ease a little bit more, and especially for the up and coming bands, because I'm thinking, he knows that about us, and because they're there, they're not for the masses. Bands are just starstruck. They're just like, oh my God, we're getting interviewed. Most of them never been interviewed before in the festival. So for them to actually get someone that actually knows a bit about their band, they're just not expecting that at all. With the bigger bands, it's more expected. They expect you to know X, Y, and Z about them, but everyone else is asking them about X, Y, and Z. So I want to try and ask them about other bits and bobs and say little bits about them. So I'll start off with, points of information that I've got about them. To be fair, based on what you said, I generally, because it's Bloodstock TV and because it's about the festival, I generally do tend to start off with saying, how did your set go, or what was that? But then. And then I'll go from there and sort of see where to bounce from there based on what they've said back to me,
Yeah, and I can understand that it's kind of like almost like a corporate ID, isn't it? That you have to sort of ask
that's
about.
What I mean. That's what's been the big difference for me. So coming from a radio station before where I could talk to anyone about anything, and if they were playing Festival X, I could promote that. If they were playing X for a Festival Y, I could do that. With Bloodstock, it narrows it down a little bit more because the audiences that we tend, the audience that we're aiming at, and let's be honest, at the end of the day, it's to sell tickets to Bloodstock. That's why it's out there. That's why we're doing it. But it's to try to keep it interesting. And the way that I've tried to do the podcast is to always try to have content on it that would interest me, because I'm a punter at the end of the day. I'm a punter that just happened to have a radio show and then happened to be invited to do interviews. But I still go to, I don't know, about 70 gigs a year, majority of which is a punter. So
you go to more than that, mate. You go to more than that.
Well, it's about that. I don't know.
It certainly seems like that as an outsider looking in.
Yeah, well, let's say it is what you do, and I'm lucky enough to be able to do it. I'm not mega rich or anything like that, but I have the same conversations as, say, you see all the conversations about how much Metallica tickets are and how much Slayer tickets are and stuff like that. But it's the same judgment in my head as soon as a gig's announced. It's kind of like, right, how much do I want to go to that? How much is it going to cost me to get there and to get a ticket? And how gutted am I going to be if I miss it? And then that's it. And if it's a 70 quid gig or if it's a 6 quid gig, it doesn't matter. It's the same principle. How much can you afford to go? How much would you be gutted if you missed it? And that's it really. So I'm fortunate that I'm able to go to all these gigs and I mean the Zentrix, the tour that they did with you guys when you first came back is the key example that I'll always cite to anybody. So you did those 6 dates, three one weekend and then 3 a fortnight later. And I went to 4 of them. And it was mainly, priority was Zentrix to start off with, obviously, because I didn't really know you guys or know what you were going to be like coming back and stuff like that. But obviously Zentrix had been away for 20 odd years as well, the same as yourselves. So when we were driving back from Glasgow, me and Paul Bealby, that had been up there, we were like, do you think that was a bit excessive going to 4 out of the 6 of them? And I was like, well, no, because I don't know when they're going to, they could finish tomorrow. And then 2 weeks later, I get a text message from Chris Astley saying that he's left. And again, it could be that Zentrix is over again. So that will always be my justification for it. If I can get to a gig, then I'll go, because bands might not be around for, I've got a box in my wardrobe full of T-shirts of bands that don't exist anymore, and it's sad. I hate it. So if I like a band, I'll always go and try and see them as much as I can, and that's part of why I got this, really, I suppose, because you get your face out there, you get your name known and stuff like that, and that's why Bloodstock invited me to do it.
And that is a fantastic philosophy to have, and I think you're absolutely right. I think people do think bands are going to be there forever. I mean, witness the conspiracy theories about Slayer, and it's like when we both went to see him at Wembley, and then you went off and saw him in Birmingham as well, and fair play to you. I would have done it if I could. And you still get people going, oh no, it's like no, you're there is no conspiracy here. You're just in denial. They are going away. Yeah. Tom Araya, I've kept saying this. Tom Araya would have retired in 2008 if it wasn't for the financial crash, because he lost a load of money in that, as did a lot of celebrities, and he was bang up for retiring back then. Because of the physical wear and tear, and then Jeff dying was just the end of it for him. That was it.
Yeah.
And
well, I have to say they were absolutely incredible, though. I mean, I've seen them, probably more than any of the bigger bands over the last 10, 15 years.
Same here.
A lot of the time they were a little bit, but those gigs were brilliant. Those last two.
Well, I've said this on the podcast a lot, but I've seen them on average twice a year since I was 17, and I'm 48.
Yeah.
And it was just that. I mean, they were absolutely superb, and it was a Slayer show I've never seen before. It was a full-on, coordinated, amazing light show, great backdrops, awesome fire. It was just it was a show I have never ever seen before, and it was superb. It was right up there with the first time I saw them, and when I saw them back to back a year apart at the Astoria, playing Rain in Blood all the way through. I mean, they were. What were they like in Birmingham?
Yeah, brilliant. It was the same again. It was a slightly different view that I had, because I've got slight regrets about both of it. Basically, the way it happened was I was going with my mate on the Saturday, and we were going to Wembley, and he was the guy that I first saw Slayer with back when we first saw them at Clash of the Titans in 1990. So It was a real sort of poignant sort of thing that 28 years later we're both going to probably see Slayer play for the final time. And at that time, I didn't have tickets for Birmingham. And then on the way, Errol, who runs Flashosaurus in Norwich, was saying that someone had a spare ticket. So I asked my son if he wanted to come. My son's 16, really likes Slayer, really likes Metallica, but he's not that keen on the actual live, and certainly indoors. He's all right with festivals. He's got quite sensitive ears. Even with earplugs in, he finds indoor shows difficult. And I said it was an arena show and stuff like that, but I said it was standing, and it was going to be, 4 bands. It's a long show, stuff like that. Typical 16-year-old. Well, it's standing up for 4 hours. So he didn't. He said, no, it's all right. I won't go. Thanks for asking, but no, I won't go. So then I went on the Saturday to London, showed him all the pictures of the fire and everything, and he really, really regretted not going. So I thought, right, I'll see if I can get tickets for Birmingham then. And so we went seated at Birmingham because of that, because he didn't want to stand up for all of it. 16-year-old, ridiculous. But yeah, so we were sort of fairly near to the front on the right-hand side, looking down the stage. But it was great. It was still just an amazing show, and he absolutely loved it. So I think that's probably going to be the last time I will see them. I saw that the Download announcement said it's their last UK performance, apparently. So I can't see that I'm going to see them again, to be honest, unless the stars align, and basically because I think Download's got an outstanding lineup this year, has to be said, or 2019, and unless a lot of the bands that I want to see are on the same day as Slayer and Anthrax and all that, I might go for a day, just go and see all of them one last time. So I might see them again, but I don't think so. And the last thing to say about it really is that I've now got on my wall an absolutely amazing print from Birmingham. One of the photographers from Bloodstock, Katya, took this amazing photograph of Tom Araya just sort of in silhouette with all the fire behind him. And there's 2 spotlights shining down that look like devil's horns above it. And I collected it off her yesterday, literally. It's printed on metallic paper. It just looks incredible. So it's almost like that. I want that to be, that was my last ever Slayer gig. So if I do go to Download, that's going to, temper that a little bit. So we'll see what happens.
Well, that's that. Similar story for me. I was there with my best mate. We met working the same job in '86 when we were 16, and he heard I was into metal, and we got talking, and he was into Priest, but and he'd heard that this Rain in Blood was getting really good reviews, and he was like, do you know anything about it? I was like, do I know anything about it? It's fucking awesome. Get it. And he was like, but it's an import. I said, just fucking get it. And that was the first. It was the first album we ever bonded. That we ever kind of like shared. Do you know what I mean? Shared an enthusiasm over. It was like, and it was almost like the beginning of our friendship there. And all through the years, I mean, he used to have a porn vid that he was always worried that somebody would pick out of his video collection and play, so he called it Slayer Live, knowing that none of his family would go near that. So Slayer has always been like, all the way through our lives, and when we came out of that gig and we were walking away, and we were both just like shaking our heads, like it just doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem like that's the last time we're going to walk away from a Slayer gig. It was. Yeah. Well, I sent you that MP3 for the podcast, and it's all in there, mate. It's all in there. But going through a day at Bloodstock, just to get back to that, going through a day at Bloodstock. What's talk me through a day? You're staying off site. You get to the site. When are first interviews and when are last interviews?
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, it's very much up to us. They've just left us to very much our own devices ever since. So it's sort of changed over the years. So the first year that we were there, we were camping, and we camp in the contractors camping, and then it's the same as pretty much everyone with backwards and forwards. There's a lock up in the VIP area, the press area, where you can leave your gear overnight and stuff like that, and it's safe and do that. And then it's only this last year that we actually stayed off site, and it just makes so much more sense. You've got that extra bit of kit, and means that you can actually prepare a little bit more for interviews last minute on the morning and stuff like that. So without wanting to say that I'm 45 now, I'm done with the camping thing, I think. so it's pretty much that. But it's the actual day itself. It's kind of a bit of a juggling act, really, and it's something that I've sort of refined myself over the years. So, as I say, we've got our team. We've got Topher, who is my main camera guy, and then we usually have another camera guy. We've had two different guys for the last year now, so we might have a different one again next year. I don't know yet. Depends on availability and stuff. But we all meet in the morning and have a look through the list of who we've got that day. I've got a little whiteboard that I write them all up on, so what order we've got them in, what time we've got them on, so that any of the team can come back and sort of check in with that and have a look at where it is. And then we've got our own little sort of gazebo-y sofa type area that Bloodstock kindly stole from Scuzz originally, because Scuzz didn't turn up the first year. First year we were standing up. When we interviewed you guys, we were standing up with the backdrops behind us, and Scuzz were doing their interviews on the sofas. And then they weren't doing them anymore for 2017 or 2018. So we inherited those. So we made sure we got all our gear out and all ready. This year was a little bit of a challenge because it was crap weather. So we had, rain and stuff like that to contend with as well. But generally it's just keeping in touch with the PR people and making sure that they're aware who you are. So I'll always try to, if I see someone that, or the people that run the press tent, Cosa Nostra, Michelle and Kirsten from there, they're really very helpful, and they realise I've been in the press tent since 2015, because the year before I was doing audio interviews for the radio station, so I've got to know them quite well over the years, and this year was the first year that we were sort of invited to have the stay behind drinks on the Sunday, and got absolutely wrecked. It was just so we really felt that we were accepted. We thought, we felt really accepted. And the other thing as well with it was the Gajira interview that we did. They were late getting here, so they were coming over from Holland, and they had delays X, Y, Z. So we were supposed to be having it at whatever time. And as I said to you before, it's Gajira, they're a headliner. We're going to move whatever we need to move to make sure that we're doing that. We just get told as and when. So there's a lot of sort of standing around with that. So we went and did the Gajira interview. We had Joe. It was only about sort of 5-10 minutes because he was absolutely knackered. So we just did that quickly. And then I found out later on that only two people had interviewed them, and it was the BBC and us. and Metal Hammer and Scuzz and nobody else got given it. And the first year that we were there in 2016, when Gojira played and Slayer played, we got told, you won't get those. We'll tell you in advance now. They only do 2 interviews, and that's Metal Hammer and Scuzz. So for us to have got one of the only 2 interviews that Gojira did, I think shows that they actually get us a bit now, and we're sort of in that circle of trust, and they know that we're going to give a good interview and we're going to get it put out there. So that was a really big thing for me this year. I felt a lot more sort of accepted and a lot more comfortable with it all. So that was good. But just to return to your actual question, the actual day itself is the main preparatory stuff that you've done in the weeks before really comes into focus then, because you'll try and make the gaps. As I said before, there's bands that we really want to see, like for example Alien Weaponry this year. There's no way I was going to miss Alien Weaponry, so
of course
any interviews half an hour before their set, half an hour afterwards, and made sure that I was definitely going to be over there to meet them and have a chat with them afterwards and things like that. So we'll organise that, and we'll get all the interviews booked in for the weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before the festival. And that's with a number of different PR companies will be doing that. So you'll usually have 4 or 5 bands with each of them. So you get your slots sorted out as to when you're going to have them. At that point, you don't really know who you're going to be interviewing, so it's not don't know which band member you're going to get on the day. Some of the more established ones, Nuclear Blast, very good with things, and we're helping us out with Century Media, the Noise Cartel that look after them. Obviously the sort of bigger ones, because they're looking at the main stage bands, so they can usually give you a little bit more information as to which band member you're going to be meeting and stuff like that. And then it's just a case really of then just going through the day and just making sure that you've got your prep done really. So I've got band sheets that I prepare in the weeks coming up to it. So general bits of just general fact sheets as to what country they're from, what their band members are called, what their latest album is, if they played Bloodstock before, things like that, and just your fact sheets. And then I'll have some sort of questions or more bits of information. I tend not to have a question. I will just have their latest album is this and this is that, and they just went on tour in there, and from here they're going to Czechoslovakia for Brutal Assault or whichever. So at least you've got that sort of information as to where the band's just been, where they're going to the next day, and that way, as I said earlier, it just sounds more, you're more informed about what they're doing. So you were just in Czechoslovakia yesterday, how was that then, and things like that, and you can ask them whether there's a big difference between the European festivals and Bloodstock and the UK crowds in general and things like that. So what I'll do is I very rarely have back-to-back interviews, so that there's literally 2 slots with no time in between them, because things go wrong during the day and things get moved along and stuff like that from their side and from our side usually. So it's literally, I've usually got 5 or 10 minutes in between, and I'll just have a quick read through my notes as to what they are, because I want to use the notes less and less as we go on. I started off, first of all, it's just sort of like, I've got my clipboard with me and I'm constantly referring to them, but more and more I just want to say, just let it flow a little bit more, and so that I've got that information in my head as to what their latest album was and where they're going and things like that, and I only have to have a quick glance at the notes if I start getting stuck as to what to talk to next. And as I say, they just leave us to it really. We just record what we record, and then we chat to the PR people about the next one we've got coming in and things like that. But from the Bloodstock side of things, the Bloodstock people, like Adam and that, like check in with us every now and again. Got everything you need, everything all right, fine. And that's all right. We set up on the Thursday, so we'll arrive on the Thursday and get everything set up. But the press area is only open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so we don't start the actual proper band interviews until Friday daytime. And we used to, on the Thursday, do a few sort of more random ones. We'd go out to the campsites, or we'd go out to around the arena, or we'd just go and interview some bands that we know have played at Bloodstock before, but are just there sort of schmoozing around and stuff like that. So we used to do that, but we generally just tend to stick to just the actual band interviews now. So it's a tiring weekend. It's a working weekend. There's no 2 ways about it. But we do get to check out the bands that we want to see, because we'll schedule around it. And even when we've got gaps now and again, we can very quickly walk through and go into the pit at the on the main stage and just have a quick look at who's on there and stuff like that. So it's a fun weekend, but it's a working weekend definitely.
Yeah, it is, but it's also, I mean, it's a real trip, isn't it? I mean, you're getting to meet and interview some genuine, heavy metal icons like fucking Rob Halford and stuff like that.
Yeah. We didn't get Rob, unfortunately.
Oh, didn't you? Sorry, I thought you had.
No, he did. We got Judas Priest. We had Scott and Richie, but Rob saves his voice on the day of a gig. He doesn't do interviews on the day of a gig, and obviously when it's a festival, it's always going to be the day of a gig. So we got Scott and Richie, but it was really good, and it's out there. I'll do the plug-in bit because obviously you always plug yourself when you come on ours. So,
do it.
Bloodstock TV is. Yeah, well, Bloodstock TV, all the interviews that we've ever done are on the festival's official YouTube channel, which is called Bloodstock Festivals, and there's a band interviews playlist on that all our interviews are in there as well. So that's where they are. And Bloodstock Radio is bloodstockradio.com, just so you know where that is. And that doesn't start until January.
And Bloodstock Radio is a podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast. It's pre-recorded. It's not a radio station, as such. But Bloodstock Radio seemed the best idea to come out with it. We got a little bit of a derision about it from a few certain quarters when it first came out. But there you go. You get some people that just don't get on with Bloodstock and have got big mouths. But hey, can't help them. So it's a weekly podcast, and it runs from around about mid-January up until the festival. And then we'll have a few months off because there's no Metal to the Masses heats until at least sort of November when London starts. But most of them start in like January, February. And we'll have built up some band announcements by then as well, so I can have some interviews prepared like the one I've just done with Soilwork and stuff like that. And as I say, it's aimed at promoting the festival and the Metal to the Masses coverage as well. So we have our sort of around the ground updates. So we like to have our regions, all our Metal to the Masses regions. There's like 30 of them, I think, again this year. But having me with my boring, dull monotone saying, so Glasgow this week we had bloody blah. It's better if you have, wee jock Poupon McPlop phoning in from Glasgow with his results, and he's got the Glaswegian accent, and then you have a London accent and a Norwich accent and a Stoke accent and all that, and you actually get the sense of this being a global, an international thing, whatever you want to call it. But the fact that these are actually happening around the country, rather than just my boring voice, because no one in London wants to know what's going on in Newcastle, and no one in Newcastle wants to know what's going on in, Stoke and things like that. So the Metal to the Masses is obviously one of the core things that we want to cover on that, and to try and make that as exciting as possible. That's sort of the best way to do it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think people will be, listening to this. I think they'll be surprised at what, what a massive undertaking it is. I mean, you don't just rock up on the day and interview who you want, and things.
No, absolutely not.
And things get juggled around all the time.
It's like that all year. Yeah, it is. It is like that all year round. And like I say, when you make connections with Nick Azenas at Nuclear Blast is massively helpful, as I'm sure you know yourself. And so when you've got these contacts and they're constantly, when you get on the mailing list and they're constantly sending out, so right, we've got so-and-so available for interviews, so-and-so. And then as you get to know them over the years, Nick now, for example, will know that anyone that's announced a Bloodstock, he knows that I will want to interview them. So he'll automatically just be sort of sending me, listen, I've got so-and-so available if you're free to do that. So it's building up those contacts. And to be honest with you, as I said, when we first started, no one knew me at Bloodstock, no one knew who I was, so I didn't really get that much help with that, really. And it was even to the point of literally just going onto a band's Facebook page, having a look at what their press contact is, and then contacting them and saying, hello, I work for Bloodstock. Having a Bloodstock email address helps in that respect, but there's no sort of like big global list of these are who we've got playing and this is who you contact and all that sort of thing. I've had to sort of work that all out for myself and get my own contact list and get all that going as well. But I sort of prefer to have done that, really, to be honest, because it's all fun doing that bit as well, really. And as I say, with both of them, with the Bloodstock TV and the radio, you've got to be reasonably organised with it. It is a lot of work. It's a lot more work than what I thought it would be, to be perfectly honest. And people like yourself that have helped out with the podcast. The idea that I had for the podcast to start off with would be that it would be sort of me as almost like a central sort of hub. So in an hour-long show, you wouldn't really hear that much of me. You would hear, an interview that someone's done with a band, and that, a report that someone has sent in, and things like that, to try to make it a little bit more varied. But I've had people that have, to be honest, you personally have probably sent in as much as anybody, to be honest, over the years that we've been doing it.
Oh, good.
There's a few other people. Yeah, well, say Lena, who you also know, Lena Khatib.
Yeah.
Lena Metalina, as she's known. She did a few in the Middle East last year for me and stuff like that, because she's jet set off all over the place and she's knows all these metal bands. So we had a couple of really interesting interviews with Middle East bands when you find out about, you know, what underground really means. And I know that you've had her on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you're talking about like literally having to smuggle in heavy metal music across the border from Syria into the Lebanon and that, to actually play it on her radio show and things like that, and you know, people getting shot, people getting locked up for wearing a heavy metal t-shirt, not even playing it, not even the bands, but just listening to it. So those sort of things have been really sort of eye-opening, because when I first started it, again, blank canvas, didn't really know what it was going to be. And it was going to be, you know, it's about Bloodstock, but, you know, you've got as much scope as you want to do with that. And to be fair to them, they just let me run with that. And I was never really sure as to what level to be. In fact, I think I remember talking to you about it, because obviously you've been doing the podcast, and mine isn't really what I would call a podcast. It's more of a 1-hour radio show that's just pre-recorded. So, because it's got music in it, it's got interviews in it, it's got advertisements for the festival and stuff like that and things like that. So I don't think that's a typical sort of podcast. I think most podcasts are mainly just spoken word, aren't they? So it's just whatever I decided it was is what it's turned into. And I constantly get messages from Vicky and Adam and Rachel and Paul saying, love the show, it's great, you know, you're representing us perfectly. So for all the people that say, you know, oh, there's too much talking on it, or oh, there's not enough music on it, or whatever, I don't care, because they're the only people I need to, the Bloodstock people. If they think I'm representing the festival the way they want it to be represented, then my job's done, that's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, I yes, I do remember speaking to you when you first got it, because you were kind of a little bit of sort of like, well, how the fuck does this work, you know? And
yeah,
you know, I mean, even from a technical point of view, but it's like, you know, I remember you sending a message, and I remember thinking, wow, that's a great opportunity, and then but then also it's a hell of a lot of work, and like you said, you know, what do you do? What do they want? It's all things that you have to take into consideration that I didn't, because I was just like, right, I'm going to do this, and I just got on and did it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I say, because it is for a festival, it is different to just being able to interview whoever you want. And that's what I was used to. The radio show that I'd done before was literally, it was live as well, so I went out live. So you could literally, you know, rock up. My show used to be 10 till midnight on a Sunday. I could literally go home at like 10 to 10, have a look at what I'm going to play first, and then put on a 5 or 6 minute song, and then think about what I'm going to talk about during that.
Cheat! Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you can have, like, because we had a chat room and things like that, people would be requesting, great, that'll take up some time, stuff like that. That's a good song to play, I'll stick that in and stuff like that. Whereas with this, you've got to really organise it a little bit more. And again, that was another thing I didn't really think about as well. So a bit more on the less glamorous side of things as well. But in terms of actually sort of planning a show and planning a 1 hour podcast, I've literally got an Excel spreadsheet that's got like an hour on it, and then got my jingle that I start the show off with, which is 42 seconds, and my jingle that I finish off the show with, which is about 15 seconds. So they go in the list. They're in the list permanently. And then you literally put in your stuff. So if you've got like a 17-minute interview, that goes in, and then your time comes down, and then you've got a 5-minute song to follow it, that comes down, and then you're literally just sort of putting things into slots until you get to usually about sort of 45, 50 minutes of content, and then I've got 10 minutes to waffle in between them, and then look at where I'm going to do the waffling afterwards. So I'll put the content together like that, and then look at, right, what do I actually need to waffle about in between these things? And obviously you've got to promote what's going on. If the festival's had an announcement, then I'll need slightly more time to you know, list all the bands that have been done and things like that. So that's every week, you know. I've got to plan that every week, and it changes every week. So there's a lot more planning than what I used to do on the radio show, when you were literally just sort of winging it. But, you know, it's all part of it. And as I say, the content wise, it's just great. So the first show that I did in January 17, I thought that they would want me to do a dry run and then send it to them so that they could listen and then say, yep, that's okay to go out as Bloodstock Radio, because obviously it's representing their festival. And
Yeah.
Adam was just like, no, I've heard your radio shows before. You go for it. It's all right. Just do what you want. And then literally after an hour, it went out at 8, and literally just before 9 o'clock, Rob Bannister rang me, who's the head of the compares. He rang me and just said, that was brilliant, mate. Really enjoyed that. And I'm just like, oh, thank you, great. And then Rach messaged me, Vicky messaged me, Adam messaged me the next morning. We'd all listened to it, and they'd all said to me, we don't really listen to radio that often, so great, thanks for doing it. We're really great that you're doing it, but can't promise that we're going to listen to the show that often and stuff like that. But every now and again, I'll just get Adam, oh, great show that last night, the so-and-so interview was brilliant. And I'm just like, they're all listening to it. That's great, because I wasn't expecting that at all. I was expecting it to just be sort of just another string to their bow, really, just another thing that's selling tickets for them at the end of the day. But they've all kept really engaged with it as well, and that's why it's such a great organisation to work for, because they really do, engage with everybody, and they do look after everybody. So it's a great thing to do.
Well, it's another example of the Bloodstock family, isn't it? Which is what it's always called, and rightly so.
Yeah, it is, and that's what I've felt since day one. I mean, I'd say even the year the year that I was there with the radio station, when I got there, as I was walking into VIP for the first time, Adam's coming the other way. And, all right, Paul, did you get sorted out? Because it was sort of last minute getting press coverage for it and stuff like that. And he was like, oh, you get sorted out then, did you see that? Anything you need, just give us a shout. And I'm just like, it's got 15,000 people turning up in an hour, and he cares about me. Why would that be a thing? And then it's just been like that ever since. They're literally they can't do enough for you, and they're very key about it. Because I had a situation this year where my mum died like the month before the festival, but 3 weeks before.
Yeah.
So my preparation on that was really completely and utterly thrown out. And they were just so lovely about it. They were literally like, listen, if you can't do it this year, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Just have a year off. It's fine if you're not going to be ready to do it. And then when I got there, they were all really lovely, and they were all so the preparation this year was a bit skewed, and it was actually more hectic this year because and that's why I was really glad we were in a hotel, because as I say, normally I would have done all my band prep and that sort of thing, but with what had happened, I had to arrange the funeral and all sorts of stuff like that. So I literally got there with my interviews booked, but not really much research done. So we were literally Thursday night, got there, set up, got all the sofas and the gazebo all set up for the next day and everything, and then went back to the hotel, researched the bands for Friday until like 2 a.m, and then Friday night went back, researched Saturday the bands, Saturday night went back, researched the Sunday bands. So it was pretty relentless this year, but it's not usually like that. Usually, you get a chance to go into VIP afterwards, have a few drinks with people and hang out and chill out with your friends. But this year was a little bit full on. But they were just so understanding about it all, and just completely, look, whatever. And at the end of it on the Sunday, actually, the very last interview that I did actually got switched around. It was supposed to be Watain, and it ended up being Des from Devil Driver being my very last one. Yeah. And we'd done 40 interviews over the whole weekend, and I was, really happy with all of them when. It's a weird thing, but because I wing it, essentially, I can never remember what I talked about. So when they actually come out, I'm as new to it as most people, because I haven't done Q&A, because it's not a Q&A. I can't just look at my notes and you remember little bits of it, but a lot of it is just reacting to what they've said and then taking it off in whatever direction it goes.
Yeah.
So a lot of them I can't actually remember what we ended up talking about in the end. But these last two got switched around, and all the way through the weekend, I'd managed to get all the way through it all in that lot and just concentrating on getting it all done. And Des from Devil Driver came out, and we had the lights out because it was late, so it was the only one that we did under the floodlights and that sort of thing. And just thinking, and he was such a lovely bloke. He was just the nicest bloke in the world. And he was talking about he's like a born again Christian. He doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. He's done the rock and roll wild child lifestyle, and now he is like a husband and father, and he's just calmed right the way down. So we were just talking about that, and we went through, and we were just talking about life in general and stuff like that. And he'd said about that he'd lost a couple of friends a couple of weeks earlier, and he says, you're not on this planet forever. And I just blurted out, I lost my mum 3 weeks ago. And he just went, oh man, and he said, and he stood up and he hugged me. He came over and he hugged me, and he was like, man, he says, that must be, and he said, oh, how are you doing? How are the rest of your family doing with it and that? And we chatted about that for a little bit and that, and then we finished the interview, and then he just said, I'm really sorry about your mum, and then off he went. He said, my mum's really, really special to me. I've got a really close relationship, so I imagine what you're going through. And off he went. And I was just sort of like thinking, half of me was thinking that was nice because it was human.
Yeah.
But half of me was thinking, that's turned around. He started interviewing me and he started talking to me about stuff. So I was a little bit annoyed with myself, and I didn't really know which way to, because it was the last one of the whole weekend. And so I went back round to the porter cabins around the back of the production office, and Rachel and Adam were in there. And I went in, and they were like, "You all right?" I went, "Yeah, okay." And I told them what had just happened in the interview. And Rachel said, "Mate, that's perfect. That's what we want. That's why you're here. We want you to interview the people, not the things." She said, "And to be honest with you, we're amazed you're here. We would have been absolutely fine with you not coming this year, and the fact that you've come and you've done all that. And, that's what we want you to do, interview the people and be human about it." She said, "And I really want to see that interview because it sounds like a really great moment." And I'm like, "Well, okay, cool." So that just made me feel a whole lot better about it when, and that typifies the Bloodstock people to me. That's exactly what they are. They're just really, really lovely people. And obviously their family, they're a close family as well. So, the fact that I'd lost my mum really resonated with them as well. So, as much as you get the sort of, people will say, "Oh, it's going all corporate. Oh, it's turning into download." I know it never will, because I know the people that are involved with it, and I know that they genuinely care about the fans, and that they're really grounded people. They're not, rock star sort of lifestyle or anything like that. They're really grounded people, and that's why I absolutely love working with them and working for them because of that mainly.
Well, that's been my experience as well. Both as a punter and being in a band that's played there. I think I told you, I got stuck outside trying to get in. Waiting for Cannibal Corpse to put the guest list through and all the rest of it. And stood outside with Cookie. Cookie was resigned to us not getting in. We'd been out there for about an hour and a half. And Vicky came around to say hello to the guys working in the porter cabin. And then I caught her eye and she was like, "Oh, hello." And I was like, "All right." And we had a little hug. She goes, "Oh, what are you doing out here?" And I said, "Oh, fucking, guest list, not." And she went, "Oh, right." And then she just walked over to the cabin and went, "Let these two in, will you?" And it was just like, it was like I said, it was just like a family, like it was nothing. And funnily enough, Cookie had got his ID out and he showed it to the woman in the, because it says guest list, you must have ID and all the rest of it. And he got his ID out, and the woman behind it said, "There's no need to show me that. I don't even know who you are. She's just told me to let you in." And it was just it was just perfect. But
yeah, well, we had a bit of that this year as well, which is what I say. You just get to. It is like a family, and it's the same as it is for the punters. All the press tent and everything, they all look forward to getting together because that's the only time we see each other a year as well.
Yeah,
I'll see a few of them at gigs around and about. I saw Ollie Walker's at Slayer actually just outside from We Are AC, and just had a quick chat with him. But very rarely do we get, do we see each other throughout the year? A couple of emails backwards and forwards, but actually being together. So it's nice to have that. And I had exactly the same when I went to the thing. They're just sort of like, "Hey, Squatter, how you doing?" and stuff like that. And they're just like, yeah, just give him that pass and that pass and that pass, and through he comes. I'm just like, okay, cool, great. Everyone knows who I am now. That's brilliant. But it's just that human touch, and I say it really, that idea of that family. We had it in 2017 when I first started switching between tents and hotels, basically. So on the Thursday night in 2017, it was absolutely freezing, and I woke up on the Friday morning and my voice was ropey, and I was just thinking, I hardly got any sleep. I went to sleep in the car at 4 a.m. because I was so cold. So I was just like, I can't do that. And I was walking into sight alongside Cy Keeler from Onslaught, who'd be camping near us, and he was saying, "Oh no, you've got to look after your voice, mate." He says, "Your voice is your fortune. You've got 3 days of interviews to do and stuff like that." So I thought, I'll book myself into a B&B on the Friday, then I'm not going to risk having another freezing cold night like that. So I booked myself into a B&B, paid 40 quid for it. On the Saturday, Adam Gregory comes round and he's just sort of checking in. I was, "Hey, how's it going?" "All right." I was like, "Yeah, I'm all right." He says, "I was a bit ropey yesterday, so I stayed in the B&B last night." "Oh, don't do that." He says, "Why'd you do that?" He says, "Do you want a hotel for tonight?" And I'm just like, yeah, great, that'd be fine. He went, "Yeah, go around and see Rach in the production office and sort it out." And I was like, okay. So I had a look at my timetable. I had sort of like 10, 15 minutes for the next one. So I walk around to the porter cabin. I walk in, Rachel's literally on the phone. She points at the phone. She's like, "Just getting it for you now." I'm just like, he's running a festival and he's radioed back to Rach to get me a hotel for that. And it's just things like that just make you think, what the hell? He's
Yeah.
got 15,000 people here. He's got 118 bands playing over this weekend, and yet he's done that for me. That is why it is the best place to work for. You just don't get that anywhere else, I'm sure.
No, and do you know what? I'm sure I speak for people listening as well. It's such a heartwarming thing to hear, because I think without a doubt there's a few festivals around who can remain nameless where it's pretty much obvious that you're getting absolutely rinsed every single step you take.
Yeah.
And it is actually. It feels like that. I mean, it's like, there's even when it comes down to like the catering offering and everything, it's not burgers for 15 quid. Do you know what I mean? It's actually it's not like out on the street prices, but it's not outrageous either. And it's all of that goes towards sort of fostering that kind of that vibe, that feeling that I'm not getting ripped off here. I mean, I speak as somebody I speak as somebody who bought a pink top hat from one of the stalls for 15 quid. So
the famous pink top hat.
The famous pink top hat that for some reason I decided to throw into the crowd. And the amazing thing is, the video of our show that we played at Bloodstock, you see me throw the hat out into the crowd, and this hand just appears out of the crowd and just catches it and just takes it down again.
Yeah. Let me talk to you about that appearance with my experience of that set, if that's okay.
Right. Well, hang on. Let me stop you there. I'm gonna wind this up for the Bloodstock section, and let's have a chat for my Patreon people. Hang on a second.
Okay, cool.
So there you go. That is the inevitable Patreon plug that's coming your way. If you sign up at patreon.com/Howard H. Smith, subscribe for $5 a month, you too can ask questions of the people that I interview and get your own little Bollocast every month. You also get early access to the Bollocast, and you get loads of Acid Rain stuff as well behind the scenes, making of the album, you name it. All for the price of less than a pint of beer. Come on, folks, join up. You Make it a Christmas present to yourself. Why not? Anyway, that concludes part one. I hope you've enjoyed it. Part two will be, I've got 2 interviews coming on part 2, which also, again, will be around, there's somebody else involved with Bloodstock on, and other festivals. So, really looking forward to bringing you that. That will be making its way to you, as I said at the top. That'll be coming to you between Christmas and New Year. So whenever you're listening to this, whether it's before or after your Christmas dinner, or it's before Christmas even, and you've just got stuck into this early, I hope you enjoy the holiday period, the festive period, whatever you want to call it. And, thank you very much, as always, for listening. Really do appreciate it. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, even if you're just sat in front of the telly, farting like a bastard because you've had too many Brussels sprouts. No matter what you've been doing, no matter who you are, I do appreciate every single one of you listening to this. Spread the word, please, and let's see if we can make this podcast even bigger next year. So, until part 2, I bid you farewell. Have a lovely Christmas. Keep doing what you're doing. You're a great set of people, and you're doing an incredible job.